Gotta make sure it's like dead center. Fuck.
Right.
Welcome everyone to WrestleMania Panel 2 here with PK and now Nate the effing great. I mean, we got a former champ in the house here. How's it going, Nate?
Bitch ass champ. He never put his belt on the line against me.
Hey, I wanted to at one point, but some higher powers just did not allow me to.
That's all right.
Well, tell you what, though, you were actually a pretty damn good champion. I'll say that much.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the positive support from everybody. And not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this weekend. We're here to talk about Scott Steiner, of course.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that first, guys. What do you guys think? The Steiner brothers are finally in the Hall of Fame this Friday night.
Like I've said before, I don't know what the hell Vince McMahon gave Scott Steiner, other than probably one hell of a reach around. But he had to give him something. There's no way, with as much shit as Scott has talked about Triple H and Vince McMahon, that Scott did not agree to this without some form of a dump truck of money getting thrown at his ass.
It had to be money. It had to be some kind of clause, some kind of deal. Maybe it's like a deal where he said, "Oh, you could sell like Steiner merchandise, but we only get the freaking money for it." Who knows at this point? Yeah, no. As soon as Kev, you told me about that, I was literally just like, "Oh, that acceptance speech is going to be amazing." I'm looking forward to hearing what Steiner has to say.
Everybody thought I was ribbing them at first. Like when I sent it, I was like, because a buddy of mine sent it to me, and I was like, "Dude, you're ribbing. I know it's close to April Fool's. You're ribbing me." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Go check Twitter. Go check go check Rick Steiner's son's thing." And I went, "Okay." And I saw it. I was like, "Oh, I gotta send it to you." And everybody's like, "Are you sure about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." The Steiners are there.
Yeah, this it's gonna be crazy. I will say that. I'm really excited to see what the hell this ceremony is gonna be like, though.
I mean, it's going to be like all the highlights of Scott Steiner, all his great hits. His horrible match at Royal Rumble, his awesome storyline with Test and Stacy Keibler, and
that's probably the only time he actually was freaking healthy, when he worked for WWE. Because when he got brought in, that horrible start to he got screwed at the beginning because he was not healthy. He had, what was it, something like a torn muscle in his abdominal or some shit like that?
It was between that, and I think he also had like something wrong with his ankle as well. So
yeah, because he wasn't 100% healthy, and they've openly admitted that, I think, on both sides of the coin.
No, he definitely was not. But yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting to hear what Scott Steiner has to say come this Friday. It might even be the biggest April Fool's joke where it's like, "Oh, you think you're going to the Hall of Fame? You're not. Just Rick is."
It would be kind of funny if it's like a big April Fool's and Rick's there in person and Scott's on the Titantron.
That would be amazing. I can see that. I would pay good money to see that, actually.
But I think we all agree it's well deserved for both.
Oh yeah, the Steiner brothers are definitely do deserve it. They were one of the more athletic tag teams of the 80s and early 90s that I had ever seen.
And I have to say, though, I really don't like the fact that WWE waited until Vader died to put him in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a little...
Well, he's been dead for a while, though, hasn't he? He's been dead for a handful of years.
Yeah.
A couple years, yeah.
So, when did he die?
Big bad booty daddy.
He passed away in 2018, so yeah, I mean...
Been a couple of years, yeah.
So 4 years ago this year in June, the middle of June. So I mean it would have been nice for them to put him in before he passed away, but I don't think they expected him to die, was it?
No.
Well, it was one of those things that kind of happened out of the blue, didn't it?
I think it was, but I'm not really sure because there's always complications when it comes to a lot of people's health issues and such like that. I mean, one of the things that we didn't know was how much Scott Hall's health was going to be once we found out how he was affected by the pandemic. it was kind of one of those things where he just went down into a downward spiral after that, which was really sad because the guy was doing so good and he looked good. But fortunately, the pandemic was one of those things that affected people in the worst way possible.
I'm drawing a blank. I think Juggalo was in the fucking, pardon my language, there, chat with us last week.
Yeah, that's Big Ram. I'll tell you something. That guy right there.
But he's got a point. A lot of the legends are getting put in after they pass away. So, but now looking it up really quick here because I couldn't recall what it was. In 2016, he was in a Leon Vader, whatever you want to call him, Big Van Vader. He was in, it looks like, a coma for a little bit. And I mean, so that may be why. It's because between 2007 to 2018, he had ups and downs on his health. It looks like somewhere in between 2007 and 2016, he was in a coma for about a month and he lost over 100 pounds.
Jeez.
He was in a car accident. He's been diagnosed with heart failure. And that ended up being, I think what it was, is he had complications of arrhythmia and a pneumonia in 2018, and that's what caused him to pass away.
Jeez.
But just, yeah.
Well, I will say this about Scott Steiner. If wrestlers in WWE, I know that Scott Steiner finds Becky Lynch hot, so Seth Rollins, if I'm you, I would keep Becky away from Big Papa Punk.
Got it. So there's 3 people now that need to stay in the rafters, and that's Hogan, Flair, and Becky.
And he definitely, I mean, like he would look at those women wrestlers, and he'd be like, I mean, it would be cool though. The one thing about the Steiner brothers that they brought in a style of wrestling that we never saw before, and that's what was so famous with Benoit and Kurt Angle and Bryan.
I mean, there's one reason it's called a Frankensteiner.
It's true.
So and that's definitely because that was Scotty Boy's go-to move, and that was his finisher in the 80s.
The crazy thing was that when I saw him, Rick, battle Team 3D at TNA show, I can't remember if it was Sacrifice or if it's Turning Point. Regardless, when he pulled that out of nowhere and he just pulled the Frankenstein out, I'm like, this dude has so much wrong with him, but at the same time, it's moments like that where it's like he could still go. I don't know if he can still do the Frankensteiner anymore, but it was one of those things where as soon as he did that, I was like, wow, he's still got it. I'm very impressed. Hat off to you, Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
So Seth better watch out because he might get Frankensteiner at the Hall of Fame.
If he can get the ups, I think he'd give it a go. I'd be more worried about Hogan first.
Yeah, fair.
Well, I do know the NWO is supposedly supposed to be at WrestleMania. I think Nash would probably put Hogan in his hotel room and lock the door. Maybe, I don't know.
I wouldn't be at all surprised if at WrestleMania or at least at something they do something to acknowledge Scott again.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because we already know. I really hope that they bring, even if they don't really do anything with them down on the line, let JTG come in and do the acceptance thing for Shad for that Warrior Award.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were a tag team on the Indies, and then WWE, and they were friends, real life friends too. If you're not going to have his kid come up and accept it, or his wife and kid come up and accept it, you got to have JTG.
I agree.
And I couldn't think of anything a more deserving candidate for this year for that award. Personally, I think they should change the name of it too. But
there's a rumor going around that when Undertaker comes out, he might, when they introduce the Hall of Famers at WrestleMania, the Undertaker might come out in his old black and gray for one word.
That'd be kind of cool.
That would be a nice nostalgia pop for that. But I can also see Taker coming out as, Big Evil on the motorcycle, just like Awesome did at 25, where he came out on the ATV, stuff like that.
I think I'd actually kind of like seeing the Big Evil more.
I know.
The American
that's how he retired, so
come out and come out as the American Badass. Got to play the song too. Got to tell Vince. Got to spring for the song. All of a sudden, just I am American Badass. Just in the middle of fucking WrestleMania. I don't think anybody could. None of the matches would get a pop like that.
No, definitely not.
I think if Undertaker got a little physical at WrestleMania, I'd be okay with it. Like if he came down and like helped somebody and punched a couple people and choke slammed them and then did a nice send off, I could see that being fine.
Who's in? Oh wait, Vince is inducting him, isn't he? I'm gonna say who the hell did they say was inducting Taker? Vince himself is.
Yep.
I couldn't remember if it was that or if they were actually going to have Kane do it, and it's just like, well, why would they have Glenn come and do it? Maybe you have Taker when Glenn goes in. Maybe you have Taker come and induct Glenn.
Well, Kane's already in the Hall of Fame, isn't he? I think he was inducted last year.
Kane is?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't think Kane was inducted already.
Yeah. I think I remember he was inducted the same year as Rob Van Dam, which was last year.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So,
my mistake. I didn't watch WrestleMania last year, so.
Well.
So we left off at WrestleMania 20. We didn't get a chance to talk about it. So the cards back at Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania 20. I'm looking at the card there. We see a young John Cena beat Big Show for the United States title, doing the FU to a. He had to be well over 500 pounds at that point.
I'd keep that.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good matchup.
That was a good matchup, and that's when Cena had the Reebok pumps, and that made me want to have Reebok pumps again. When he did that, I was like, man, I want the pumps again. What do you mean? You must bring your strength. But we had RVD and Booker T defeat Garrison Cade and Mark Jindrak and the Dudley Boys and La Resistance.
Oh my God. There's a tag team you haven't heard of in years, La Resistance.
I miss that tag team. So,
oh hell yeah!
So you kind of give me an idea of what was going to go down for this. Here's kind of like my pitch for the whole deal: is that they should have just had the two tag teams, the one from Raw and the one from SmackDown, just battle each other, shave a couple minutes, and then give it to the women's match to give more time to them, because that matchup between Victoria and Molly Holly just got shafted over so hard, because they could have gone maybe like 10-15 minutes to build up the suspense for that. But yeah, women's division was not.
I see where I would have shaved off a little bit of time, because that match only went for about 8 minutes if you watch it back. But then you had Chris Jericho and Christian for the next match, which went almost 15 minutes. I'd have shaved probably 2 or 3 minutes off of that match.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 minutes off of Evolution and the Rock and Sock. Because that went for almost 20.
I was about to say, how long did Goldberg and Brock go for again?
Almost 14. That one I would have shaved probably 5 minutes off of.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of that Victoria Molly Holly thing, we talked about it before. Victoria's finisher, no one's kicked out of it. Mm-hmm. It's still staying nostalgic. And when she hits that Widow's Peak, I haven't seen anybody kick out of it yet. And to be honest with you, I noticed Charmel is supposed to be in the Hall of Fame, but I felt like Victoria should have been there this year.
She deserves it. If she doesn't, I can't remember because it's been a while since I've watched any of those, but Ivory's a part of the Hall of Fame already, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that she was inducted.
So was Molly. Yep.
Okay. I knew Molly was for sure. I couldn't remember if Ivory made it in, because I knew Trish was. I believe Lita is.
Yes. Miss Jackie.
Jackie I knew was, because that was, 2 or 3 years ago Jackie was in?
Tori Wilson's in. Stacy Keibler's not in. Yep.
Thank God. If they ever wanted to legitimize a Hall of Fame, they will not put her in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. I'm not a big Stacy Keibler.
Okay, if you're gonna put Stacy in the Hall of Fame, put her legs in the Hall of Fame.
There we go.
I mean, if you're gonna have Tori Wilson in the Hall of Fame, there's no reason why you couldn't put Stacy in, because Tori didn't really do much of her own to get it to be Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, yeah, she could work a little bit better than Stacy, but that's not fucking saying much.
So So they had these they had the Goldberg, Brock Lesnar.
And the Goldberg Brock match.
Both were leaving, so nobody gave a shit.
And you know what's? I felt bad for them too because I felt like they really wanted to try, but I looked like Austin was just looking around. I can remember Austin looking around the crowd, just going.
The crowd was dead. No, but the crowd did not give a shit about Brock and
Both were
Goldberg.
leaving. Both were leaving,
Mhm.
and it was like they're like, "Fuck you, you're leaving." Brock was leaving to basically go play football, which was a huge mistake.
And
But
then Goldberg was just stepping away.
Goldberg was just stepping away because he didn't like the fact that he had to wrestle longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why. But then again, though, I liked that Goldberg run in 2003 because he was doing different moves. He started adding in the Muay Thai stuff. He started.
Yeah. He didn't just. See, I think what the problem was with Goldberg is that he also believed his own hype from WCW still at that point.
Yeah.
Is that he should have gone in and he should have been able to squash everybody. But when you've got more built up big names, because even after he lost his first match, he wasn't squashing everybody anymore in WCW.
True.
So,
speaking of squashing, I wanted to talk about this match because it was before the match. I think it's actually a very interesting match. The Cruiserweight Open, where they had the 10 to other. That one could have used a little bit more time as well. But I love the post interview with Chavo, where he's literally like barely sweating, but he's just like, he's just like literally panting like he ran a marathon.
mm-hmm.
And Josh just like, you seem to be out of breath. You weren't in there for that long. And Chavo's like, excuse me, I'm a little bit winded. It's like, what do you mean you were winded? You were out there for like 2 minutes. He's like, I defeated 9 cruiserweights all by myself. I'm about to be 10 if you don't watch it. It's like, yes, beat up Josh Matthews. I'm okay with that.
There's a match on there that
I like the story. I'm sorry to interrupt, Kev. I like the story that they had going for the Christian and Chris Jericho match. And then Trish comes out, and it starts off with that $1 Canadian bet and everything.
And then we had the rise back of Undertaker with Paul Bearer.
Yep.
That was nostalgic when Paul Bearer came out with those druids. And Undertaker came out, even though he looked more like he still looked like the American badass Undertaker, big evil, but he was just reincarnated with.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he was doing he did the best he could with that. I mean, he didn't exactly have a long time to grow the hair out, so there was another tag team match, a fatal 4-way tag team for the WWE Tag Team Championship.
Which, funny enough, I did actually meet Sky Zuhadi this past weekend. Really cool guy.
Nice.
Yeah, this was just one match where they were just like, oh, Raw could do this? Well, SmackDown could do it better. Did they do it better?
No.
Jury's out on that.
No.
Because it was too cool. The only good side of that one is you had Shelton and Haas, who are two guys who legitimately could go. And unfortunately, one half of that team got treated like shit.
Nobody gave a shit about the Basham Brothers. I'm sorry.
And one of my favorite matches at WrestleMania 20 was the Eddie Guerrero Kurt Angle.
Yes.
WWE Championship.
Absolutely.
Chef's kiss.
The whole ankle lock and then the boot comes off. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Eddie wanting to go to Eddie
being Eddie. I don't know which one. I don't know which title match I like more for that one. You had Eddie and Angle, or the triple threat. Because I mean that triple threat match was still a hell of a clinic too.
It was a hell of a clinic, and I love the ending with Benoit and Eddie Guerrero both hugging each other. They're both they both worked their ass off.
Oh yeah,
to get where they needed to get to,
mm-hmm.
And
especially at that point in their careers, because they started out with WCW. Eddie started out with the cruiserweights. Benoit, I don't know if he started out with cruiserweights or if he was always a little above that weight class. So he was in like the U.S. title hunt.
He was in the TV title hunt at first
as well.
And
yeah.
then
Because they did have the WCW television title.
That was where he got the best of 7 with Booker T.
But we got to see a really good clinic match. Triple H tapping out at the end.
One of the few times I think he ever did that in his career.
And the fans never let him forget that.
Well, as far as I can think, he only did it, what, 2 times? 3 times?
He did it the Cena at WrestleMania 22.
Very seldom, I think.
2022. Yeah. I think he did it to Taker at 27.
Yes.
Yep.
To the Hell's Gate. Or he passed out, one of the two.
It was a tap. I remember that matchup, and I remember him just doing like a little fate
like he was, yeah, he could just barely tap out because he was passing out.
Speaking of WrestleManias, WrestleMania 21 in Hollywood.
Oh, my first one that I watched on pay-per-view.
Started the story of Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio with Dominic. Went all the way into Survivor Series. That match between those two, that feud that year between Eddie and Rey, perfect.
Oh, yeah. We had, I think, what was it, the first ever Money in the Bank match, too.
We did.
Yes, we did.
Because that's where Edge won it. And he held on to that thing for a while.
He defeated Chris Jericho, Shelton Benjamin, Benoit, Christian with Tyson Tonko, and Kane.
Yep.
Shelton Benjamin was like the major star in that matchup, other than Edge, because he was doing like dives. He was ladders.
Diving off of that ladder onto them, I think, outside.
The T-bone on Edge from the top of the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Little did Edge know that was going to be like a once in a year kind of thing for him, because then a year later he'd get FU'd by John Cena through some tables.
If I'm not mistaken, in that match, didn't Jericho put the walls of Jericho on Benoit on top of the ladder?
He did that on the top of the ladder, yeah.
Yeah. I knew he had done somebody.
Well, then we had the Legend Killer, Randy Orton, stepping into his own, facing the Undertaker. That was a good feud that year.
Oh, that was a good, that entire, from the minute they started that one till the minute they ended that feud, it was a damn good one. And it helped elevate Orton to that next level.
It did. For
his career.
Then we had...
We're not even going to talk about the next match that was on the card. We're going to skip that and just go Kurt to Kurt and Shawn.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about Chris and hit me with Trish. Yeah, no. We love you, Trish. Don't get us wrong.
Don't get me wrong. Lita, all three of those ladies are very easy on the eyes. They are very beautiful individuals.
Right.
But that was just the only thing that led up to that was the whole slut angle, and that's because I think that was right around when Christy posed for Playboy.
Yes.
Because they were trying to push her after winning the Diva search.
Yeah, how well did that work out?
Ironically, didn't we have a couple other people that came from the Diva search that year that actually panned out better? I think Candice Michelle was.
Ashley Mazzaro.
Yep, Ashley. Yeah. I thought she was the year after.
She was a year after.
Michelle McCool. She was a part of that.
McCool.
Well, you know what? We're not.
Where's her induction, damn it?
We're the only reason, and you know what? Because I seen a bunch of these on TikTok. The whole sing when you see a better wrestler than Ronda Rousey or something like that, or so-and-so. And Michelle McCool's picture is one of them that's in there. And I do not sing for that one because I do not think she is a better wrestler than some of the other ladies that were on there. The only reason Michelle McCool got the push that she was is because she was spreading them for Taker. When she started sleeping and dating Taker, that is when she got her push with the Divas title, with Lay Cool and all that bullshit. If she didn't play the politics backstage, she would have never been a footnote.
So, if we talk about that, Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, that match, that was a good feud that year because it was another one they did.
Because I do believe they also had, what was it, like a 30-minute Iron Man match on SmackDown?
Did. It was on Raw. It was like Raw Homecoming when they did that.
I knew it was, obviously, it was one of the shows, but.
I think you're thinking of Brock Lesnar and Kurt
match,
Angle.
Building to that match, Kurt Angle had Sensational Sherry come on SmackDown and she was singing the sexy boy thing to Kurt Angle. Yep. And Kurt Angle ended up doing the ankle lock to her or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
I remember that.
Kurt Angle
because he did
was
his
one of the
own little
best things.
take on Sexy Boy. I've got gold medals.
I
got the moves to make them all tap out.
Just a sexy Kurt.
Sexy Kurt.
Yeah.
The match itself, like you guys said, was just, oh my gosh, that was match of the year candidate, like all the way.
You know, as much. I know Jay, if Jay watches this or is watching it, he's going to hate me for this, but there are times where I still think Shawn is highly overrated, but with certain people, like in this case, phenomenal match, and you couldn't have done any better.
No, definitely not. I love that moment where Kurt's literally just yelling at him, "Why don't you just tap out?" And he just gets super kicked right in the face.
Yep.
Trouble.
Kurt Angle. You know, actually, one thing about Kurt Angle in that match too is Shawn during his run back, he was a giver.
Yeah.
You know, he really did.
Yeah, when he came back from being hurt, when he came back from that back injury, he started taking a lot more L's and stopped with all the politics.
Mm-hmm.
So he had definitely changed who he was.
Now, do we even want to talk about the sumo match?
No, that's something I would have just shaved off completely. Put it on a SmackDown or something.
Not Big Show in a diaper. No, we don't want to talk about Big Show in a diaper.
So we had John.
It's bad enough if we already get. It's bad enough if we go to Tales from FML, we can see Nate in a diaper, but we don't need to talk about Big Show in one.
I look better than Big Show in a diaper. Let's just be fair.
Hey,
moving on. What we got here?
I've seen both of you, and I don't know which one I'm going to take still.
Fair enough.
JBL had a
JBL Cena for Cena's first WWE title.
And as soon as he won that title for a couple months, everything was fine. And then the fans hated him. But it was actually not that bad of a match. But I don't think it was better than Batista and Triple H's.
No. Triple H and Batista definitely deserve to be main.
Mm-hmm. And then they kept that feud going. He had the return match and then the next pay-per-view, and then they had the Hell in the Cell.
And
I love how years later when he comes back and he has that final little run with WWE, Batista says, "This man has done everything except beat me."
I loved that. That was a good rib.
I mean, of course, obviously at that year's Mania, Triple H beats Batista. Because Batista is riding off into the sunset. He's not coming back again, so you can't have Triple H has still got to pull that shovel out one last time. Can't just let somebody have the last one up on him and just be like, yeah, he never could beat me.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that two things I remember most about this matchup were, of course, Motorhead's music, where just Leppy's just literally saying whatever he wants, because we all know that when he's live, he's just there, just be like, you want to it's like, and he'll just literally curse in the middle of it for no reason. It's like, you know what? It's fine. It's Motorhead, whatever. But that moment where Triple H has the pedigree and he's just, crimson mask of blood. He's thinking, I got this. Goes up. Nope. Goes again. Nope. And then his arms just break apart. And it's like, I just need to question all my life choices now. Such a good matchup. So memorable.
Triple H's run from 2002 to 2005 with the world title, some people would say his shovel was bigger than Hogan's.
Agreed. The only time where it was justified was probably Steiner. Sorry.
But what was not justified is when he would not put over Booker T.
Agreed.
Absolutely no reason why Booker shouldn't have won at Mania that year.
That one was definitely a pain in the ass. But what was also cool about Batista and Triple H's thing was the story behind it. Batista winning the Royal Rumble between him and Cena, and Vince McMahon comes down and tears both quads. And then it gets to
proceeds to yell at everybody while sitting in the ring, and people are trying to figure out why the hell Vince McMahon is sitting in the ring.
I remember that. Oh gosh.
Nobody knew he had torn his quads until like a day or two later.
Then it was what was cool was the whole showdown of which champ is Batista going to pick.
Mm-hmm.
And Ric Flair and Triple H kept saying, "Hey, you can go to SmackDown, go after JBL, go after JBL."
They wanted to keep Evolution, but that's because they were playing it up that Triple H was scared of what Batista could do to him.
Well,
and at least in that case, even though Batista got his late start, unfortunately, early mid-30s when he finally got broke into the WWE.
Yeah.
Because he didn't break in, obviously, right away as Batista with Evolution. He had that Deacon Dave with Reverend Devon.
Oh, testify. He's called my name.
I feel so, that's enough. That's another guy that I feel bad as a single star. He could never make it, and Bully, Bubba, whatever you want to call him. He had the ability to make it as a single star, and Devon he couldn't. He was better as a tag wrestler.
Now that we get to WrestleMania 22, this is when they started putting more matches on the card.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm looking at it, there's like 12 matches on this card. We have. I'm not even going to talk about Viscera beating Snitsky in the Battle Royal.
That looks like it was on a dark pre-show.
It was.
I mean, that was only about 6 minutes, but the very first actual match that we got, as I like to call them, tons of fun. Because you got Big Show and Kane, and when they were doing their tag team run, which I thought was still a pretty devastating tag team run together for the two of them.
Yeah,
I thought tons
and
of fun.
I think they had some pretty good chemistry as a team.
They did, honestly. I think there's that one moment where Kane and Big Show are backstage just talking, and Big Show's like, "What are we gonna do tonight?" And then Kane goes back to this long, prolonged deal where he's just saying like, "We're going to eviscerate our opponents and make them cry for mercy," and some kind of shit like that.
Yeah, because that was when it was like bald demon Kane.
Big Show's like, "That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful." It's like, what is wrong with you?
Or what was it? One of the other backstage during that run. It's one of them. I think it was Big Show was trapped in a room or something like that. Kane's going, "I'll help you, man. I'll help you. I'll get you out of there." And he has to make this huge feat of strength to move a big ass crate or something like that out of the way. And then Big Show just comes walking up beside him. He goes, "What the hell?" He goes, "There's another door."
I forgot
something
about that.
Stupid like that. That's still kind of some memorable fun shit still from that team. But the team that they went against, one guy I can't fucking stand, and that's Carlito. But Chris Masters, I think, is another guy that was a hidden gem that WWE had that just screwed over.
The Master Lock.
Because now in what is it, NWA or 8, something like that, he's in one of the other ones. Is Chris Adonis, and he's pretty solid.
Now, what's actually cool is this Money in the Bank match with RVD, because we all know that goes to that one night stand in ECW. He cashes it in.
Yes.
To beat Cena.
John Cena. The reaction from that crowd in the Hammerstein Ballroom against Cena was.
How about Flair though? Flair taking the ladder bump still at his age at that point.
He
took
took
a bump from the ladder. I think from Shelton.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, what's interesting is we have JBL versus Chris Benoit. Beats him for the United States title.
Oh my gosh!
I really want to talk about this one, the Edge Mick Foley hardcore match.
Yes.
That was Mick Foley's WrestleMania moment that he felt he never got, and he's happy as hell about that. I was watching the interview that they had that Stone Cold was doing on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he was talking with Mick, and he was sitting there. He asked, your most painful things, and the most painful one, obviously, I think was still the Hell in a Cell, and he only rated that at a 5 out of 10. And when Steve Austin asked him about the flaming table, he just said, "That's a 1, hands down, just a 1. No, nothing." He goes, "Seriously, the table was on fire." He goes, "But Steve, I was so in the moment. I had my WrestleMania moment finally that I didn't feel I ever had. I was so elated that there was nothing else. So nothing else was on my mind except just how happy I was. No pain was even felt. I'm like, oh, fair point.
You know what's cool is that later on they team up at that ECW pay-per-view to face Tommy Dreamer and I think
Terry Funk, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Terry Funk, yeah. And Edge did the whole Bila McCuddy doing the whole little thrusting her while he bends her.
Jeez. I remember that. That hardcore match was just absolutely insane. I think that there's a lot of moments where you just see Edge literally be like, okay, I may have messed with the wrong person. He goes through tacks, he gets the barbed wire. Even Lita got a spot where she got that, barbed wire Mr. Sacco in the mouth. It's like, oh, okay, we weren't expecting this, but cool. But yeah, that flaming table spot was what really just set over the edge. And I think that the amount of hair that both Foley and Edge lost from that spot.
Well, realistically, Lita probably didn't need to soak that. Well, Foley too didn't probably need to soak that table as much as they did. Now, I mean, if you watch with the lighter fluid, I mean, there's literally a pool.
It's true.
They have one of the best women matches of all time at WrestleMania between Mickey and Trish.
Yes.
And Mickey doing the whole doing that. I mean, if you watch WrestleMania, folks, you can't see it on Peacock anymore because they took it off. But but right now on if you watch on Impact Wrestling, they're doing the same thing with Chelsea Green. They did the same thing with her. Like she turned on Mickey, like being a big idol of hers, and now it's like they kind of took a little page out of WWE's book and kind of went the other way. But what you guys think of the Mickey and Trish match?
Oh, that was good. And it had a good story to go with it too.
Absolutely.
And it definitely, I know that little the little finger licking thing that Mickey did definitely got her into some shit backstage. They said with Vince.
Yeah.
But I think at that point, just in that moment, I don't think anything could have worked any better.
No, everything about that matchup was just well
done.
The
story that was told with it was perfect.
Oh gosh, yes. Just I will say this, that I may have to talk to Mickey again and ask her, like, how are you able to just make your eyes just bug out of your head like that? That's just absolutely insane. How many moments where you just see her just doing that deal where she's just like, oh, it's like, what the fuck?
I remember the one part I was watching a little bit of it, their match earlier, and Mickey's eyes, like you're talking about, this bugging out. Mm-hmm. And you're like, how'd she get her eyes to bug out like that, man? But there is a match on here that we probably won't talk about. We're not going to talk about the Tori Wilson, Candice Michelle, because I thought
you were talking about the handicap match with Boogeyman, but
that's two. I actually did not mind the Boogeyman, the character himself.
No,
it just kind of sucks that he kind of bullshitted everybody in WWE and made himself sound like he was younger. But I thought if he legitimately would have been younger and he would have been able to have a run, I think that character could have been pretty fucking wild to watch in WWE for a while.
One of my favorite Boogeyman spots is one where he bites the mole off of Jillian Hall.
Oh, that fake growth, and he's sitting there eating it off of Jillian Hall's face.
I like the one where he gets John Cena, where he goes, falling down, falling. And Cena's just like,
oh, yeah, where he's still doing the whole, where he's just on Raw as the Super Cena character still. Kind of opens the door like, we're looking for this person.
Now we do have Undertaker versus Mark Henry for the casket match. Another notch in Undertaker's book.
Yeah.
Do you guys know at WrestleMania 22 they were trying to get Hogan and Austin for WrestleMania 22?
I believe that,
and that's why that whole thing happened on. That's why when Hogan came out on Raw a couple months before and was like, "I challenge that rattlesnake," and then when they inducted Bret Hart, Austin's like, Well, I got a bag in the back. It's got the name. It's got a can of whoop ass with Hogan's name on it.
I remember that.
Right in front of Hogan too, and he just looked at him and didn't even pay attention to him. I'm like, well, that could have been I don't know if that would have been a good one at that point, but
Yeah.
18 was their opportunity, and they missed it. But
Because Steve didn't want to work with Hogan, so they gave him Scott.
yeah, that was a better choice.
Which they actually have. We have Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon. This is when Vince McMahon starts getting crazy and has God and wants to wrestle God too.
Oh my gosh!
Praise be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Hallelujah and amen.
Because it's such good shit.
The one part that I love in that match is when Shawn Michaels is on top of the ladder. And Vince is on the table inside that trash can. He
teases that he does the DX chop.
And then later on, Triple H does it in the match with Cena.
Yep.
It starts the whole DX turn. That kind of.
I did love the moment where Shawn actually does the DX chops again, but Shane McMahon, who's cuffed on the outside, literally begging, like, no, that's enough, Shawn, that's enough. And Shawn's just like, no, it's not. He just snots at him. I'm literally just like, whoa, this is new Shawn Michaels. This is politicking Shawn Michaels. He's back. Shit.
I love when he does the whole little dance thing making fun of Shane.
That was awesome.
Before he starts going to town on him with the kendo stick, like I kind of feel like I've been hit with kendo sticks before. I kind of feel for Shane in that one. Like, oh, shit. Because you can't fake that. In order to get the good cracks with that, you got to swing.
The first time I got hit with a kendo stick, I had a mark all the way to almost the back of my neck, all the way down to my butt. That thing hurt. Mm-hmm. And it does not feel good. For anybody that's ever been hit by a kendo stick, go buy yourself a kendo stick and hit your friend with it. I'm actually encouraging you to do it. Because it does not feel good. What do you guys think of the John Cena Triple H match? Because obviously the crowd turns on Cena on this one.
Well, before we get to that one, I want to talk about the triple threat before that. Because that was the main event, but I think the real main event should have been Randy, Ray, and Kurt.
I agree.
Rey Mysterio wins the Royal Rumble.
The World Heavyweight Championship. He won the Royal Rumble going from number 1 or number 2. At 62 minutes, he was in the Rumble for. All of this is going on after Eddie passes away. The only thing that sucks about that match is that they didn't give those guys any credit. They gave them just barely under 10 minutes.
Yeah, they could have cut the pillow fight, maybe the handicap match with Boogeyman. Just saying.
Yeah, if you'd have cut those two matches out, you could have given that 7-8 minutes to the triple threat match and let them do a better story, because they built it all the way around. They built it with Orton, they built it with Kurt, they built it with Ray, and they didn't get a chance to shine and deliver like they should have, because all three of those guys are phenomenal workers. They were then, they still are now.
Absolutely.
Then, actually, this is CM Punk's debut, because he was one of those guys that was riding in the car with Cena.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, he was riding on the car for Cena's entrance.
The whole Tommy gun.
Mm-hmm. And that's just because it was in Chicago.
But we have this whole Triple H Cena thing. Triple H, I remember telling him, like, you ain't going to be the best until you beat me. Can't be good until you beat me. And of course, the crowd at that time was turned on John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you ever wrestle anywhere, Chicago, New York, and Philly, they will turn on you in a flick.
Oh yeah,
those areas will turn on you. And you guys live close to Chicago, so I mean, I'm just saying
I've spent plenty of time in Chicago.
Chicago crowds are literally the most passionate, but also can be, like you said, the most ruthless fans, especially if you piss them off. Because I think the last time I went to a WWE event, they of course booed the shit out of Roman Reigns. Who is he fighting? Jinder Mahal? Yeah, we don't care about either one of them. I know.
Well, I think that was still in the process, because I remember that, because I don't think it was a pay-per-view. I think it was just a Raw match, a Raw main event thing. But that was still in an area where they were trying to push Roman down our freaking throats.
Yeah.
And when Cena was stepping away, Vince tried shoving Roman down everybody's throats and saying, okay, here's your new Cena. No, none of us wanted it.
No.
They should have let Roman do his own thing on his own and just kind of slowly built it and seen where they go instead of just trying to give him the strong push.
I mean, I think the worst reaction I've ever seen him get was after he beat Taker at WrestleMania. That Raw
we'll get to that. We will get to
if they were gonna turn him heel, that would have been the perfect time to actually start his heel run. I think they started this bloodline idea a couple years too late. They should have done it right after he beat Taker and he makes it his yard. Because you just took the biggest guy that everybody loves in WWE and beat him at WrestleMania. The next day, you come out and you proclaim, I am basically the god. I am a god here. I am a king. And you run now. I mean, we wouldn't have the storyline now that we have now for it with him versus Brock this weekend. But
well, we have WrestleMania 23 in Detroit, Michigan. And looking at the card, we had Carlito, Ric Flair defeated Chavo and Gregory Helms in a lumberjack.
Is it the Silver Dome or the Superdome?
This one ain't the Superdome or the Superdome. This was Ford's Field. Ford's Field, yeah.
We had another.
It was a Superdome.
Money in the Bank. We had a beautiful Money in the Bank match.
Yay.
I actually did like Mr. Kennedy. I don't know, a lot of people don't, but I did. I actually like Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, I think he got a bad rep in WWE too because people just Orton and Cena both said that he was working stiff. Well, guess what, Cena? You used to work stiff as shit too. And the only reason you changed your shit up is because Hunter told you to change your shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gave Kennedy any of the same courtesy or anything.
I used to love how he had the old school microphone come down and just.
Oh, hell yeah.
It was just great. I mean, I used to call it the Howard Finkel microphone. The Finkel phone.
The Finkel phone.
So we had the Great Khali defeated Kane. Now, originally, it was supposed to be Hogan versus Great Khali.
Because that would have been so much better.
Because I was reading about that. It was Detroit. Vince wanted to reset the mood. Hogan was going to slam Khali in Detroit like he did Andre. Mm-hmm. But Hogan doesn't work for me, brother. And
I think that's one time where Hogan made the right decision saying no and politicked his way out of it. Because it wouldn't have done anything for him, but it wouldn't have done anything for Khali either.
No.
I mean, neither one of them. Yeah, WWE Hogan couldn't wrestle. NWA and New Japan, or AWA Hogan and New Japan Hogan could wrestle. But Vince just wanted them as a showboat, and Khali couldn't do shit.
They also wanted Hogan versus Umaga with Donald Trump in Hogan's corner. That was also pitched as well, but they went with the right choice with Bobby on that one.
Oh yeah, and they continued to build that too because what was it? Leading up to that was we got Santino, the Miracle in Milan.
Where we got ECW champion in Durag.
Yep.
We have and also we had Chris Benoit versus MVP for the United States Championship. Which was actually not a bad match. Bad little match there.
It was kind of underwhelming. It was kind of underwhelming for me. Mainly because I think how the finish took place, where it was just a headbutt 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, when was the last time Chris won with a headbutt? But okay, I mean, yeah, he won, but I mean, eventually.
I think the last time I seen him win with a headbutt was maybe a WCW match, or maybe in New Japan. Might have. I'm just saying that might have been the last time I seen it. But we do have in this card the Undertaker versus Batista. That championship match was great.
Another match that should have gone on last.
Yes.
Why do they feel like Cena needs to win all the time? Why do they feel like he needs to main event all the time? Come on. Why?
And what's cool
Well,
is
even if he's going to be the main event, I don't think we need to give him the half-hour-long card match. We can definitely divvy that up between a couple other people.
that, and plus Undertaker won his first ever Rumble that year.
Yep, leading up to that.
Sad. Just a
That
sad time.
kind of shadowed that future showdown between him and Shawn, because they were the
That is
last
true.
two in that Rumble match, and kind of shadowed what would happen later on. We also have the NCW originals: RVD, Sabu, Tommy Dreamer, and Sandman.
And the
They defeated
Sandman.
the New Breed of Elijah Burke, Kevin Thorne, Marcus,
The alpha male.
Alpha Male, Matt Striker.
A lot of people don't know that Marcus Corbin was the alpha male.
Monty Brown.
Monty Brown in
Feel the
TNA.
bounce.
Most
I actually
ridiculous.
like the pounce move. I thought it was something really
That
cool.
is good.
It worked. I think that's one that works better with TNA with that 6-sided ring. It doesn't work too well, I think, with WWE and just a regular square.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there's too much to try to set up, because if you Irish whip a guy and then you start running, by the time you get to the ropes, he's already at the midpoint of the ring. And it just it looks good if done in the right environment.
I think there was one that he did to Sabu on an episode of ECW that looked perfect, because literally Sabu's just standing there and then all of a sudden, boom, just gets hit with it. It looked great. It was like, oh wow, that was probably the best power.
Oh yeah, it's just a super high impact shoulder block, but with how Marcus Corvin looked, Monty, whatever, Alpha, how the guy looked, he looked like if he came running at you and he barreled into you like that, that's exactly what would happen to you. And that's what sold that one and made it good.
Mm-hmm. Battle of the Billionaires.
Battle of the Billionaires.
You know, I actually did not mind that match. Umaga he's one of the bigger guys that could actually move, and his size definitely belied, whatever it is, his athletic ability. So for a guy his size, he could actually move pretty freaking well.
Plus, we got that awesome moment where he got taken out by Lashley with the cage door. That was
where Lashley just freaking dive bombs the side of the cage.
Yeah, Umaga's just talking and then he just shuts up as soon as the cage comes on him. It's like, uh-oh.
And the height that Lashley gets on that jump.
Yes. Oh my god.
Because he hits like 3/4, 4/5 of the way up that cage. Which is freaking. I mean, when you actually see the cages in person, they're not as impressive looking as they are on TV, but that's still some pretty good ups for a run and a jump.
Absolutely. Jeez. And we got to see Vince McMahon get shaved, which was always fun, just to see him get humiliated.
And we had a future president involved in WrestleMania, which is kind of interesting.
The way he just attacked Vince was so funny. And it looked like he just like, oh, I'm giving you a hug. It's like, wow, just cannot. He's not a wrestler. Never mind.
Hey, I'll tell you what though, Stone Cold took that spike pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And he sold it. He didn't just. He stayed down like a ref would for a while instead of, being an actual wrestler and getting up 10, 15 seconds later.
Send that to him.
I will also say that build up to who the guest referee was going to be was just great, because first comes Bischoff. He's like, oh, I'm just here vacationing, promoting my book, and also I hope that you lose. Foley comes out in a ref shirt. He's like, oh, I just need a job. It's like, oh, you get your job. Here's your referee. It looks like, no, I'm just judging a wings contest or something like that. There's just this monkey that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then Shane comes out and he's like, I'm not the ref either. We lost. It's like, who's the referee? And Vince's face of just pure agony told the story. Glass shatter. Here's Stone Cold.
Yeah, you have to give Vince credit though, because he will do whatever he has to do
Yeah.
to put something over. He'll do whatever.
He's a jackass, but he's a smart
so
businessman.
leading up to that, so would guys like Jonathan Coachman, who sat there and he just, when it was announced that Stone Cold was going to be the ref and everything, started having multiple different like interviews, and he goes, "Just remember, bald can be beautiful, just like with you and I." And then he gets his ass whooped by Stone Cold.
Oh man, seeing Jonathan Coachman get his ass whooped is always funny though, because he just sells and he just
Oh yeah, and he's willing to do what is needed to be done too. Like he's a go-getter for the company. He always was.
Can we get Jonathan Coachman in a match for WrestleMania this weekend? I think he's long overdue.
That's not going to happen, but
I know.
Shit, I'm trying to think of what he does now.
Like a sports person, something like that.
Well, he worked for ESPN, then he left ESPN and came back to WWE.
Yeah, but then he kind of messed up on WWE because I remember they were doing he was calling a match. It was the Ronda Rousey Nia Jax match. And Nia's got Ronda in the bear hug, and he goes, "This is a good situation for Ronda." And Michael Cole's like, "How? How is this a good situation for her?" He's like, "Because he gets to, because she'll be wearing down Nia by doing this." And Michael Cole looked at him like, "Really?"
I think about that point, he had just been away from the ring a little too long.
Maybe a little bit.
And what's also cool too is that we that Cena Shawn match, they did one in England in Raw a couple weeks afterwards. That was an Iron Man match that was a lot better than their WrestleMania match.
Oh yeah,
and that one Shawn won too.
Thank God. I mean, he guys come up. It's after Cena no-sold a lot of his, leg work, which we know how much that pisses us off when people don't sell the fact that, hey, your leg's getting worked on. Sell it. No, I'm just gonna walk.
So we got a WrestleMania 24 in Orlando. We have Kane wins a battle royal to have the number one contender for the ECW championship.
Because at that point, ECW was relevant.
Then we have John Bradshaw Layfield facing a heel. I like the heel Finley better than I do a face Finley.
I do too.
But with Hornswoggle.
Yeah, face Henley was face Finley, not face Henley. Was kind of
face Henley. That'd be great.
Then we have let's see,
another Money in the Bank.
Punk's first Money in the Bank victory.
Yeah, Punk's first one. And that was a pretty good spots in that one too. John Morrison, though, he
was the MVP of that match. Yeah,
him and Benjamin both.
Yep.
So then we had a Raw versus
SmackDown. Yeah, because didn't Morrison do the backflip holding the ladder onto everybody?
He did.
Yes,
from the ring to the outside.
Oh, yeah. That was a good match. But also Matt Hardy got a Twist of Fate on MVP, and then eventually won the U.S. title. So that, but yeah, you were talking about that Raw versus SmackDown match, Batista versus, as Regal calls him, Umanga,
or as Regal called him, Umanga.
Yes, I love William Regal. That final Batista bomb was probably the one thing that got a little scary because he seemed like he got him up, but then as he was going down, it kind of was like, oh, this could end bad.
Then we had the last ever Ric Flair match. Well, technically last in WWE, but it wasn't his last one because he went to TNA and wrestled.
Right.
And wrestled Hogan in Australia, which they both should have never done. But Shawn Michaels, that was a pretty good, sweet moment because Shawn Michaels, that's his boyhood legend, his boyhood
idol. And it did. I don't think Rick could have gone out for WWE in a better way than.
Definitely.
And and when they zoomed it in on Shawn, just I'm sorry, I love you.
Goosebumps. And then when he kicked him, you see him over there sobbing, like grabbing Ric Flair. Just
And then when he goes for the pin, he's crying. It just, as soon as the pin is done, he's in tears and he's just hugging. And him and Rick are just bawling together.
So we have Beth Phoenix and Melina versus Ashley and Maria Menounos from Extra.
Wait, was it Maria or was it Maria Kanellis?
It was Maria Menounos or something.
No, it was Kanellis. It was Maria Kanellis.
I think Maria's a few more years though.
Yeah, I think Maria Menounos was with John. Well, I know Snooki was with John Morrison, but I think she was with that kind of shit too.
Yeah, I think it was.
Well, I know the girls. I know that girl from Extra did wrestle once or twice.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking it might have been her because I didn't say on here which Maria it is.
Yeah, it just says Maria.
Yeah, it's Maria. Yeah, it's Kanellis. Okay, yeah. I there click on her name. I see it now.
One of the greatest things to ever come out of the state of fucking Illinois.
The only good thing that happened in this matchup was Snoop Dogg sucker punching Santino. That was it.
Oh shit, he did, yeah. And then you finally get to realize just how tall Snoop actually is.
Yes, too. Holy shit.
Like, my God, I remember watching when I was younger and I saw that, and I actually see how tall. Like, he's rail thin compared to a wrestler, but it's like, holy shit. Like, they bill Santino at like 6'1", and he's towered over. Holy Christ.
But you know what's also cool about this one is that we have Randy Orton as champ versus John Cena and Triple H. Orton
love the finish for that one. Because if I remember correctly, the finish was, I think, Orton punts Triple H in the head after Triple H hits Cena with the pedigree.
Yes.
And he basically steals the pin. Because that was when we still had like the potentially like IED or whatever, intermittent explosive disorder Orton kind of thing. I think that's around that time.
I like that Orton brought that back in 2020 during the pandemic. I thought that was that side of Orton being back was very good. I mean, that's Orton at his best.
I will also say this, that I got the chance to watch that Peacock Evil deal where they did it on Randy Orton, and it's a really good watch. It definitely does show you like how Randy Orton just gets hyped into his matches, how he just gets that evil zone, like right off the bat, where you just see him just go absolutely insane. I'm just like, oh wow, I think that this guy might actually be clinically insane.
Yeah.
Do we even want to talk about Floyd Mayweather knocking out Big Show?
It was a thing. Moving on.
So now we have a really good
Taker Edge.
One of Undertaker's best WrestleMania matches.
And also one of the best moments for a referee where Charles Robinson ran a mile just to get to the
I remember.
Oh my God.
But I mean, like that was a good thing for Edge. Edge said that was probably a dream come true. Even though he lost, he's like, look, I get the main event WrestleMania with Taker. He's like, do we get any better than that?
No.
Now we're getting into WrestleMania 25, and I know this is one of Mike's favorite.
Yep, because we touched on this one a little bit last week.
A little bit last week, yeah.
Mainly just the Shawn Taker part of it. Obviously, we got to start off. I'm not even going to worry about the friggin' the dark matches, the pre-shows, because that was just the unifying of the tag team titles. But you don't get me wrong. Primo and Carlito together, okay, but I still can't stand Carlito. He's still an asshole. He's a bitch backstage. I've met with him and dealt with him before. Look, dude, just because you were in WWE doesn't make you the hottest shit on the fucking indie circuit anymore. You're not the only one who did. Piss off. Then we got a second win for Punk with the Money in the Bank. He went in it 2 years in a row.
Hell yeah. And no one can take that away from him.
Nope. Oh.
I don't want to talk about the battle royal. Let's just move on from it. It never happened.
No, we gotta.
Oh, come on. Oh God, they had so many people in that matchup. Also, they cut Kid Rock out, but I guess teach their own. And
I mean, they'd cut Kid Rock out too, but that's me.
Well, CM Punk won his second Money in the Bank.
Yeah, between it literally went from like awesome to like dead in a matter of one match, and that's thanks to that battle royal.
I know that Money in the Bank match. Kofi had one of the best spots. Mark is holding up the ladder, just one half of the ladder. Mark Henry's holding the ladder. He jumps and he tries to scale it, and he gets caught with the world's strongest slam.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
just who. Kofi is almost on par with the Hardys for ladder spots, I think. When it comes to Royal Rumbles, that man is in a class all on his own.
He's only had one botch, and that was this past year, but we don't talk about that.
I didn't even know he had a botch last year.
This sets up the whole Chris Jericho, Mickey Rourke thing because they have Chris Jericho defeats Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, and Roddy Piper. And I have to say, during that time, Steamboat can still go.
Oh, hell yeah. And he looked good. Snuka looked horrible. Piper, I think, was having his health issues with his cancer and stuff. I think it was his colon cancer. Mm-hmm. But Steamboat looked like he could have, like he hadn't lost a step. Like he was still working out. The only thing he had was just the nice bald chrome dome and the horseshoe hair ring. But other than that, he didn't look like he had aged a freaking day.
I think had they just did like Jericho and Steamboat as the matchup, I think they would have been perfectly fine. They probably would have gotten a better match out of it.
Oh, they ended up bringing, obviously, the following night on Raw, they had, what was it, like the 5-on-5? And Steamboat was on the side that, and I think he ends up getting the pin on Chris Jericho in that. Maybe. Or he got eliminated, one of the two. Either eliminated Jericho or got eliminated by Jericho, but he didn't just work with Chris. He worked with other people in that matchup too.
So we had
he got the chance. You still got this.
Yes.
We had the heel Matt Hardy versus the Jeff Hardy Extreme Rules.
Yep.
Brother.
Before broken Matt Hardy was heel Matt Hardy. Had they just gone with what they did before?
The only thing that I remember about that match, honestly, the Matt and Jeff, is the freaking shop vac. If you watch that match back again, one of the weapons that gets pulled out from underneath the ring and somebody gets smacked in the head with it is a full-on like shop vac. Because the top of it comes off and you're just looking at it like, really?
Oh my
like you got tables, ladders, chairs, kendo sticks. I think I saw a sledgehammer and you grab a shop vac?
Tables, ladders, chairs, and shop vacs. Oh my.
I remember watching that with a handful of other guys that I used to watch wrestling with, and we paused it because we had the ability to pause the pay-per-view, and we're just like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Not the craziest thing they've done, but
I loved the finish though. I loved how to get the W, Matt hits the twist of fate with the chair, so Jeff's face bounces off the seat of the chair. I think that was perfect.
Just thinking
we also have Rey Mysterio that beats Bradshaw.
The second shortest match in WWE pay-per-view history for a title.
And JBL retires after this. JBL.
That was awesome.
The only reason I really remember that is because Rey Mysterio came out looking like the Joker.
Yes.
So my buddies and I used to make fun of Rey Mysterio, like just some of the show. Oh, I want to put a smile on your face, senor. Like a highly exaggerated, like Latino accent.
Hey man,
he's holding up the belt. I'm the Intercontinental Champion, senor.
Shit.
You wonder where I got these scars, senor?
Yeah, we did shit like that. Like we were. You'd have thought we were drunk and high as shit, and all of us were sober as fuck.
I want to show you a magic trick, senor. Poof! Yep. I have your title now.
Now. I'm going to talk about these two matches before we get, because I feel like Undertaker and Shawn was the main event. so I'm not going to. But we have John Cena defeats Big Show and Edge to win the World Heavyweight title. And the only good spot in that match is when Cena picks up both.
Yeah. And even if it's only for a split second before Edge just kind of drops off the back, it's the fact that Cena had both of them up and took a couple steps before Edge did it that just shows Cena's power and the strength that Cena has in his core and his shoulders and his legs. Because I think Big Show is around 480, 500 pounds, and you got 240, 250 pounds of Edge, and you've got that sitting on your shoulders with ease and making it look easy. Jesus Christ.
Then we also had Triple H versus Randy Orton. I love this story because this is when Randy Orton was kicking Vince, kicked Shane. Then Stephanie was the GM, and she was trying to stop him, and pretty much he ended up RKOing her. And then Triple H comes out there with that mad look on his face, like, and then he ends up handcuffing Triple H. Does DDT to Stephanie and kind of licks her and kisses her on the lips, and
yeah, he gives her that kiss and everything.
I like the part when they went inside that house when that one girl was screaming and Randy Orton's like,
"Oh, what? Oh, you mean the same house that they used for when Undertaker like attacked Paul Bearer and when Stone Cold got shot by Brian Pillman?"
It just would not surprise me.
I want to let you guys know I have a little storm around me, so if I get kicked, you guys can still keep going.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, the build was good, but the match sucked. That matchup was just horrible, especially when they added the stipulation of Triple H could lose the title by DQ or count out.
DQ or count out.
Why?
But they did the same. They had done the same shit with fucking when he wrestled with Scott Steiner when they were trying to build up his feud with Steiner. But
yeah, just.
But no, the MVP match on that card was Shawn and Taker.
Yes, absolutely.
As it goes for match quality, the quality of that match I think was better than WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 26 had the better story build up, but you couldn't top the match because everything that you had seen in that match you had just seen the year before also.
Yeah.
How do you top it? You can't. The only thing that you could do is make the stipulation. And that's what they did.
And the one thing too about this match though is that dive that Undertaker has.
Oh gosh.
I thought he broke his neck. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, he scorpion tailed himself.
Then we the one thing too about this match is I don't like when people kick out of a lot of stuff, but that's the reason why I don't understand the wrestling thing now. But if it's WrestleMania like that, it's understandable to kick out of everything that's thrown at you.
Yeah, in this case, it worked out perfect. To have the multiple kickouts and false finishes, it sold. At WrestleMania 25 and 26, it sold, especially more with 26.
Yeah.
For that, just because there was more stakes, but...
Oh, what the one leading into 26, the one thing I love about that story is Undertaker is still world champion. Shawn can't get there. Can't get that title shot. So he goes into Elimination Chamber and Sweet Chin Music's Undertaker. Jericho pins him.
And screws it. So Jericho's got the title going into WrestleMania 26.
And the one thing, though, that was the same event in that Elimination Chamber where Taker burned himself. He got caught on fire with that jacket and stuff. So,
so he had, what was it, second degree burns or something like that? And he was just constantly dumping water on himself in the pod.
And we almost witnessed murder, apparently, because apparently he was that pissed. He was like, I don't want an apology. I don't want anything. Just know that if I see that guy who did the pyrotechnics for it, he's not going to live, basically.
Yeah.
Now, we going into WrestleMania 26. The one match that I really did like is I liked when Randy Orton, during that time of 25 and 10 to 26, he created legacy with Cody Rhodes and Taker.
Yes.
I love that group. And then when Randy Orton finally turns face, has a handicap match with them both and beats them at WrestleMania 26. So
No, 26 was a triple threat. They ended up teaming up on him, but because Cody and Ted kept Legacy going. But yeah, that match was billed as a triple threat.
But then we have a Money in the Bag. Jack Swagger won that against Christian, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Evan Bourne, Kane, Kofi Kingston, Matt Hardy, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin.
We could have had Kofi Kingston had not for the stupid deal. Because that was a rumor going into it, was that Kofi was the headliner to win, but because Orton got pissed.
I mean, I got.
Were the double fingers at the whole Orton thing for that one, or was that at something?
That was at something else. That's all I was like.
Okay.
I mean, it could have been.
I'm feeling a little stone coldish today.
Okay.
But we had.
Well, thank God your head's not a cantaloupe or a watermelon.
The Triple H and Sheamus match happened in this one.
That really, to me, that doesn't really stand out as something memorable, though.
It was physical for what it was, but it's just another Triple H winning deal, unfortunately, which we sadly see enough of. Had Sheamus won, it probably would have been more memorable.
Probably.
I don't know. That's just my opinion. Speaking of memorable,
Nate and PK are out. I'm having a lot of rainstorm situation here going on.
Damn you, storms!
Are you guys back?
Yep, back. I'm still here.
Yeah, something happened with the circle. My little internet thing went like it had circle, and I was like, okay, we got some technical difficulties for a minute.
Apologies there in YouTube land.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk. This is when CM Punk had Luke Gallows and Serena, and he had that whole shaved head and all that.
Yes. One of the best things they still found a way to screw up.
That was some of Punk's best work. I like that.
Did he have the head shaved at this point yet, or did he still have the head?
No,
he had a couple more shows before.
Yeah. Because he had a feud going on, I think, at the same time with Triple H, where Triple H was talking about get the squirrel off your face or your chest or something.
Yes, I remember.
Because he went from being smooth skinned to like a furry ass chest and like the big old beard, and like he looked like he was trying to be Triple H like 10 years ago, kind of thing.
He's trying to look like Charles Manson. Let's face it.
Yeah, it does kind of give me that vibe now that I think about it. Shit.
Then we had years in the making, Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon.
One of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
And that's not even a match. That was just
a straight massacre.
It was a beatdown because Hart could not go. Hart just physically could not go.
You know what's weird though? I saw a match with Hart teaming up with Tyson Kidd and British Bulldog son. And they were in the Madison Square Garden house show, and Bret Hart did the elbow off the middle rope. He even did the backbreaker. And I'm sitting there thinking, where was that Bret in WrestleMania 26?
I think it's because they were scared because if he took a bump the wrong way because of the strokes that he had and the concussion issues, they were scared to kind of have him doing too much and taking too much abuse because they didn't want to risk hurting Bret.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But I like the story going into this because, Bret made it look like his leg got hurt, and Vince McMahon signs that contract with Austin around, and then Bret takes the cast off and pretty much looks at him like,
I knew this was the only way I was going to get your ass in the ring, McMahon.
So then we also had. What was also great about that one, too, is that Vince thought he paid off the whole Hart family. And the Hart family turned around and was like, yeah.
Blood's thicker than money.
Yes. And I wish that Owen was still alive during that time.
Oh, my God.
Because I feel like Owen would have had some fun with that one.
Oh, yeah. I think if Owen had still been around, they'd have brought him in as some kind of a manager role for the two of them, for Tyson and Smith.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
But then we have Chris Jericho versus Edge for the World Heavyweight title. Jericho wins.
And this is the first time that the Royal Rumble winner has not won at WrestleMania, as far as I know, too.
That's one of them. I don't know. I have to look that up.
I know the one with WrestleMania 24. Cena was the Rumble winner, and he lost. So
I thought Batista was the winner for that.
For 24?
WrestleMania 24.
21 was Batista. 24 was
yeah.
Cena. Because that was when he came out to that big pop in Madison Square Garden.
I thought he went on to win the title.
He would later on in the year, but not at Mania.
Oh.
There was also like some weird shenanigans where Cena decided, oh, I want a title shot early. And then Orton's like, okay, no way out. Got DQ'd. And then it became Triple H, Cena, and Orton. Long story short, WWE in a nutshell.
So then we had heel Batista, which I thought was some of Batista's best work. Him and Cena's feud.
Want some? Come get some.
So Cena beats Batista. And that actually was a nice little good feud. And then Batista, they had that last man standing match. He came out Raw like, I quit. So we have that one. Then we had the Undertaker defeating Shawn Michaels for
the streak versus career.
Yep.
Which again, the only thing that about that match that made it better was just the way that it ended. The way Shawn went out, as he just looked up at him, he did the whole little throat cut, slaps the Undertaker, and then Undertaker jumps like a solid 3 feet in the air for that tombstone.
Oh gosh, yes.
And you know damn well Taker's knees had to feel that one the rest of that night with how many times he's been hurt from that. Holy shit.
Man, and you know what's also those two matches with Shawn Michaels starts the storyline that goes into 27 and 28 with Triple H. So it's like a little story that Taker was talking about in the interview that kind of goes into it. So we're here in WrestleMania 27 now in Atlanta. The Georgia Dome is no longer around, but we're in Atlanta. The Rock's the host. When The Rock came back, though, when they announced him as the host and he came out, what was y'all's responses to that?
I'm a big Rock fan. I was very happy to see him back. So,
fair
enough.
But I like The Rock. I didn't care. It didn't make me pop or any more or less that The Rock was the host. I was just kind of like, oh shit, Rock's the host. All right, cool.
And one of the quickest matches, we have WrestleMania 27, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, ended in a no contest for United States Championship. But that gets to the WrestleMania 28. We know how quickly he defeated Daniel Bryan. Now we had Edge with Christian defeating Alberto Del Rio, which we thought was going to be Edge's. We didn't know that was going to be Edge's last match.
No.
Yeah,
but he's come back, and I think the Edge now is better than what the Edge was back then.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And you guys have any preference on Alberto Del Rio, or y'all just kind of like whatever? He's
a piece of shit, and I don't like him.
There you go.
I've never dealt with him personally. I thought he did better as a heel than he did when they tried to do him as a face.
Oh gosh.
But just some of the stuff that I've heard about him on a personal level, he's not somebody that I would want to associate with. Shit that happened between him and Paige. So
we had a Cody Rhodes versus Rey Mysterio match.
Undashing Cody Rhodes.
One of the matches I loved in that one was Randy Orton and Punk's.
Ooh,
and
yes.
When Punk jumped in the air and he got caught with that RKO, that was brutal but beautiful.
It was another matchup that had a really interesting story behind it, and the match kind of lived up to it. So it wasn't like match of the night, obviously, but it was definitely one that people, I think, really enjoyed it for what it was worth.
And I feel so bad that Jerry Lawler's first ever WrestleMania match ever was with Michael Cole. With Stone Cold as the referee, but I mean, Stone Cold had to work with what he had. I mean,
and then they essentially screwed him because Stone Cold got involved. So that's when we still had that anonymous Raw GM that turned out to be Hornswoggle, I think it was.
yeah.
Because haha, little person, haha.
And then we had but what's cool is the next night, the Miz and Riley come out when Stone Cold was doing it tough enough, and this is around the time Stone Cold was looking like he was getting in ring shape. He was doing a perfect suplex, perfect Lufez.
Mm-hmm.
That was teased around that time, but nothing actually happened with it.
Yeah, we thought we were going to get a Stone Cold. Pardon me. We thought we were going to get a Stone Cold return.
But
So we had Undertaker versus Triple H.
There's the submission. There's where Triple H lost by Hell's Gate.
Yep.
That weak tap out. Yep. Going to sleep.
The Raw before that one, I loved it because when he sat there and told Triple H, he's like, "Look, when I retire, when it's time for me to go, I want you to be the one to put me down." And then he looked at Shawn and he said, "Oh, by the way, you remember how I said that Shawn was better than you? He is."
Just a giant middle finger to Triple H.
A big one to Triple H, but a lot of people thought that was the first time they fought each other. But I'm like, you guys forget about WrestleMania 17.
I was just say, yeah, as American Badass Taker, you got that was a good fucking match for Triple H and Taker too, all the way back at 17.
Then we had John Morrison and Snooki versus Dolph Ziggler and Leia LaCool. Now,
Can I just say this? That I was actually surprised at how Snooki actually did in this matchup. I literally just watch her like doing her cartwheels and shit. I'm like, oh, okay, she actually could do something flashy. And then she did that final splash where I'm like, now you lost me. The one time I was about to give Jersey Shore some credit, it's like, nope, you lost in that last second.
Yep.
Well, John Morrison was also mad because they wanted Trish to do it instead of Melina, his girlfriend at the time. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that's because Trish is better than Melina. I mean, what do you want me to say there?
I'm friends with Melina, okay?
Melina's a sweet girl. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I'm not, like confirming or denying what you're saying. I'm just saying. But this great WrestleMania main event.
I kind of dig the what's going on with that one.
I can't
You
believe
had Alex Riley in Miz's corner versus John Cena. And we had John Cena losing, thank God, for once. Miz gets to finally grab a hold of the big belt or the WWE Championship.
I think he cashed it in on Randy Orton in that a couple months before that with that little girl giving him the death stare. The death stare.
She got slammy for it. It was great.
But what was good though was the fact that it was a double count out. The Rock comes out and goes, they're going to end this match. Restarts. And what did he do? He screwed John Cena.
Yep. He gives him, what was it, the rock bottom?
Yep. Give him the rock bottom, which builds for a year in between him and Cena. And now John Cena said that John Cena actually came out and said that was one of his favorite matches. And I was like,
oh yeah.
Huh?
Builds up for the once in a lifetime match.
Yeah.
Once in a lifetime match. Yep. Going into WrestleMania 28.
As anybody who watches WrestleMania 28 and then watches WrestleMania 29 just kind of eye rolls and goes, "You got to be fucking kidding me!"
You're right.
So we go into WrestleMania 28. We have Epico and Primo with Rosa Mendes against Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd and the Usos. Triple threat tag.
Oh Christ! The starting match.
Then we have Sheamus defeats Daniel Bryan for the world title in 18 seconds.
You know, the longest running joke that my buddies and I still to this day have is, I shit you not, and anybody listening to this is going to either get a laugh or be really grossed out, but we had a guy who farted and drew that fart out longer than the World Heavyweight title match at WrestleMania 28.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh my
I
god!
will not confirm or deny that I may have been that individual.
Well, whoever it was, nice little pat on the shoulder for, breaking that record.
But yeah, I don't know why they chose to do that. I think that was really horrible to do to Daniel Bryan. Any momentum that he had, whether it be heel or face momentum, it was gone. Just absolutely. Like, unless you're going to fire the guy the next day or at the end of the night, there was absolutely no reason to do that to him.
Well, some people have made the argument that this was probably the genesis of the yes movement, because that was where he started doing like the whole no, and then eventually he started saying yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
true.
So, I mean, without this moment, we wouldn't have gotten that side of Daniel Bryan, which very choice. But it also did give AJ Lee the moniker the walking kiss of death, which was Lita for a long time. But
What's also interesting about this WrestleMania 28 is I'm looking at this. Big Show beats Cody Rhodes for the Intercontinental title.
Gosh. Yeah.
Here's the one where the Maria that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because after that match is Kelly and Maria Menounos against Beth Phoenix and Eve Torres.
Yeah.
And of course, since they got the celebrities team has to have the frickin' win. Even if it's against somebody like Beth Phoenix, who single-handedly could have taken Eve, Maria, and Kelly and beat all three of them. Just because not only was her character just built that strong, but Beth Phoenix is legitimately, what the hell is this chilling thing across the bottom here?
I know, because I thought I had the wrong one on there earlier, so I was like, you know what? What's this?
Okay, whatever. Like, I'm just watching and I'm like, oh, now we got the news ticker. Shit, okay. We got the NFL draft starting. Time out here on the Wrestling Talk.
The RNN News Network.
Then, of course, after all of that, we got the Hell in a Cell, which realistically should have been the main event in this, to me. Or at least further up on the card than where it was. Yeah. I think they should have switched this match with the one that comes after it, but we'll get to that in a second. Undertaker versus Triple H, Hell in a Cell.
And it was a good story, too, because...
because Taker didn't walk out of WrestleMania 27. Anybody that's tuned in, gonna tune in, if you remember watching that, if you haven't watched it lately... Taker gets taken out on basically a gator on a cart. Yep. He doesn't walk out under his own power after WrestleMania 27. And he felt like he lost the match without actually losing the match.
And Undertaker comes back with that shaved
head, like almost like a mohawk.
Yep.
It's like, why?
That was a good Hell in a Cell match. Shawn was over there doing a really good job. I remember that one time Shawn decides to kick Undertaker. This is where I thought Undertaker was going to lose. When he does the chin music to him, the Taker, and Taker does the pedigree, I'm like, don't tell me they're going to screw Taker. I'm like, don't tell me they're going to screw Taker.
And I would have been really upset with that one, but at the same time, it would have been a good story for it. But then, because obviously Triple H is Shawn's best friend, and then there's the massive amount of respect that Shawn had for Taker. He's got to do the best he can, and I think Shawn selling as the referee is better than anything that Triple H or Taker did. Like, Shawn is telling more of a story with that match and his mannerisms.
Yep.
Than anything else. Like, after that, the super kick and then the pedigree, and he only gets to 2. Shawn gets up and he's like flopping around into the corner. Like, he looks like he's about to have a mental nervous breakdown and start bawling. Like, he's like, holy shit, what's got to be done?
My favorite plot of that whole entire match is when they all three get to that. They all
At the
three
end, at the
implode.
very end, where they're all going up the ramp,
Yeah.
and it's just, and you literally, what was it? Michael Cole said, "You'll never see something like this ever again." Or
Yeah.
everything is changing after tonight because
It was the end of the era that they called it.
Yeah, because essentially it was because the three of them were never really did anything where they were together again after that. Taker came in and did a few more matches. Hunter didn't really do a whole hell of a lot, but he had a few.
Well, if we want to talk about their super showdown they had in Australia, then that led to the debacle of Saudi Arabia.
No, talking about Saudi.
And you'll talk about the Saudi one, but you know
cue the Men in Black pen. That never happened. Click.
But we had Chris Jericho versus CM Punk for the WWE Championship.
Ah, yes.
That was a good little storyline there because he basically made it seem like that Punk was drunk, that Punk was drinking, and they went in this little. But it was a good little feud for a while.
Didn't he smash a bottle of Jack on Punk's head on SmackDown leading up to that?
Yeah, he did.
Like he poured out most of the bottle and then he like broke the actual bottle over his head. And then proceeded to fall, kicking him. I remember that because he slipped on the Jack or whatever was in the bottle. Because I'm sure out of respect for CM Punk, they would have, like when you watch something on TV like NCIS, I'm going to use that as my example because it's the first one that goes to with somebody drinking, like Gibbs on NCIS. He's got a bourbon bottle, but he's pouring out apple juice or apple cider, but it looks like bourbon. So I'm sure they did something to make it look, if they didn't actually use a legitimate bottle of Jack Daniels and pour it out on the guy's head.
So when we saw the Cena, when they said they were going to announce Cena and The Rock once in a lifetime, did you guys think that The Rock was going to win that match?
With it being a once in a lifetime, I was pretty sure that it was either going to end with Cena losing or it was going to be like a no contest, like a double knockout kind of thing.
And it took The Rock a little bit to get used to that because there was one time Rock had the notes on his wrist.
Yep.
But then The Rock comes back with a vengeance. They did that whole thing in Boston when he threw stuff in the harbor and was like no one cares about this shit. This frozen there, and then. But The Rock wins in Miami, wins in his hometown.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be once in a lifetime, but now we go to WrestleMania 29 and we know it's not a once in a lifetime thing now.
Yep, exactly. We got I think it's the WrestleMania debut of the Shield.
Yes.
And come in, and this is at first when I didn't know who the hell these guys were, and I'm just like, what the hell is this shit?
The Miz
the entrance, but I'm just like, I don't care for these guys. These guys aren't going to be anything. Well,
I like the fact that
look how wrong I was.
I like the fact they were helping CM Punk there for a little bit. They even attacked The Rock. We even see Roman do the power bomb to The Rock 2013. Which they could build on that if they do the Rock and Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania 39 that they keep talking about. So
certainly could. Well,
you could build on
it's just
that.
in talks right now, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So we have the Miz. The Miz defeats Wade Barrett for the Intercontinental Championship. I think this is the first
time submission. I think this is when he was using the figure 4 when he was like being mentored by Ric Flair.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say let's skip the next match after that 6-man tag match because nobody really cares about anything Ryback related.
Fair.
So the Shield faces Big Show, Randy Orton, and Sheamus.
Yep. Beating them and beats them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got billed really friggin' strong and really high up there for the longest time. And I think that was good. For the three of them, that was perfect. I don't know. You couldn't really do anything better for that.
Then we have Team Hell No. The oddest pair of wrestling, Kane and Daniel Bryan.
Oh, yeah. Hell No. I loved Team Hell No.
Champions.
No, I'm going to Disneyland.
Dr. Shelby.
Oh my God.
Then, do we even want to talk about Fandango beating Jericho?
Yes, I do. I want to talk about that because I fucking loved Fandango. I loved the idea, and I love how catchy his music got to be and how people got with him. Do I think that necessarily he needed to have his debut come at WrestleMania at the expense of Jericho? Maybe not. Maybe have his debut be on a Raw at the expense of Jericho. But the story behind that was Vince getting back at Chris for going and doing Dancing with the Stars. Which, I mean, I don't know why Vince should have been pissed off to begin with, because he gave Jericho the okay to go do it.
That's fair.
You can't get pissed off at the guy after you said, yeah, sure, you got my blessing, go do the show. You're still under my contract. What the fuck, Vince? But
I mean,
it sucks what they did with the character, that they didn't really do anything with the character except make him a comedy character.
Oh, gosh.
Especially down the line with Tyler Breeze, who is another talented individual that they completely botched.
have you guys noticed that Tyler Breeze with that cell phone kind of reminds you of what Austin Theory does now?
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
it's like Fandango, they try to create another Fandango with No Way Jose.
Mm-hmm.
What's also crazy is Fandango actually made a post that he said that he's actually retiring in May of this year.
Oh, wow. Well, he's not still under contract, though, is he, for WWE?
No.
I didn't think so.
So then we have a world title match. Alberto Del Rio with Jack Swagger beats Jack Swagger by the submission. He had Zeb Culture. We the people.
Dutch Mantel, also known as.
And with that, I'm going to go blow my nose quick. I'll be right back.
All right.
Fair enough. I think the final three matches on that card are what make that WrestleMania somewhat salvageable. You had Undertaker and CM Punk. And that was, I think, Punk started fucking around with the urn.
And that's when Paul Bearer died, and they were putting him in the Hall of Fame. And
Yep,
that's when
because they put him in there just the night before, obviously.
And Paul Heyman dressed like he dressed like Paul Bearer.
Dressed like Paul Heyman, or Paul Bearer, sorry.
Yep.
Too many Pauls and too many different last names.
Actually, he did a good job as Paul Bearer.
Oh, yeah, he did. No doubt.
This is also
after that, we had a no holds Triple H and a returning Brock.
Well, we all know the SummerSlam he broke Triple H's arm twice.
Yep.
Before
with the Kimura lock.
Yep. And I think this is the one where Triple H had to put his career on the line.
Yep. If Triple H would have lost, he'd have been forced to retire. Which realistically, I think Triple H should have lost that one. If Triple H had the knowledge then that he does now about his health issues and where they'd go,
yeah,
I think he would have said, "Yeah, screw it, let's just have me lose."
And Shawn was out there. Shawn got involved because Shawn got his arm broken too by Brock right before SummerSlam that year. So Brock's over there. I remember one time Shawn tries to do the chin music. Brock kicked. Brock remembers that because in 2002, when The Rock was facing Brock, that Raw before SummerSlam, we see a chin music to Brock, and Brock goes way over the rope. So I think Brock remembered that and was like, nope, you're not kicking me in the face again.
Yep. Yeah, and this is when Brock, obviously just coming back from UFC Brock.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite super. I think it's right before we started getting Suplex City, bitch.
Then we the Taker and Punk thing. I thought that was another one of Taker's good Mania matches.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Last good one.
Obviously, you've got Punk that does his homage to Macho with the fingers.
So now we have John Cena versus The Rock. Now, Punk said in an interview that he was hoping there would have been a triple threat with those three for the title.
It would have been nice,
Would
and
have been good.
I don't know if it was because of politics that kept shit from going that way, or if it was just Vince having his heart on for The Rock still.
The Rock was actually offering to put the belt on Punk at Mania. That was the idea. He wasn't. The idea was not for them to do another Cena match, but
Yeah,
apparently they had that good Raw match between Cena and Punk, where the winner gets a title shot against him, and that was one of my favorite matches of Punk and Cena's, because we get to see the sit down power driver in that match.
Yeah.
On
it's
Raw.
true.
But we all knew that. I didn't know this, but this is where The Rock got the injury.
Yeah.
Yep.
It kept him out of doing Hercules for a little bit, and
Oh,
that's why
darn.
now he has that hard time getting the insurance to wrestle.
Oh yeah. Now the company, the film industries is. If you're wrestling, we're not filming. If you're filming, you're not wrestling. And that's exactly what they do with Cena too. Now, anything that's not WWE film related, obviously a lot of them they did with guys like that. If it was a WWE production, they just wrote it off as an injury and go film. Oh shoot, you actually got hurt filming? Well, we'll just keep you off TV for a little bit longer.
Now, Rock said it was during when he did one of the rock bottoms that he tore his. He actually got a hernia.
Yep, I remember that.
What's interesting was the Raw after that was supposed to start Brock and Rock 2 at WrestleMania 30. But The Rock got injured and they decided to scratch that. I would have loved to see The Rock and Brock one more time. It's like it would have
been fun.
That way it would have been. Because they only met what, once or twice?
Once.
One time.
And I don't even think that was a Mania. I think that was just a
SummerSlam.
yeah, I was gonna say a SummerSlam. It's one of the other pay-per-views, but
So now we're at WrestleMania 30 in the Silverdome. I mean the Superdome.
Hey.
You gotta love the beginning of that though, with Hogan, Austin, and Rock. That was pretty nostalgic.
Oh, yeah. Good wholesome entertainment.
I was kind of hoping Austin would have gave him the stunner. I was thinking that was going to happen. I was like, dude, this would be kind of interesting. But we have the Usos defeating Los Diego and that's right. They were the Matadors against the Real Americans. The Real Americans with Cesaro, Jack Swagger.
Oh yeah,
And
there was so much they could have done with that. Even though Cesaro, everybody knew Cesaro was not an American. He's Swiss, because of the whole Swiss Superman shit.
Right.
I am still a big fan of Cesaro. I feel like that
guy
gets the push that he deserved, big time.
Wherever he ends up, he is going to be a star. He is going to be a world champion wherever he goes next.
So now we have Daniel Bryan, because we know Batista comes back in 2014.
We are in the height of the Yes movement.
Yes.
At this point.
Yes movement. Batista goes and wins the Royal Rumble, which pissed off
everybody because they wanted Daniel Bryan to win.
And so the idea was, in order for him to be in the title match, he has to beat Triple H. But if Triple H beats him, Triple H is in the title match.
Yep.
And Daniel Bryan and Triple H had a pretty good little match.
They had a hell of a fight. They had a nice brawl.
Mm-hmm.
And it told a story. I don't think they could have done any better for that storyline.
No, definitely not. The story of basically being called a B+ player, and then literally showing the guy who's really been putting him down, beating him, and then going on to main event WrestleMania. Just great. Absolutely wonderful.
And they even involved Shawn in that storyline because Shawn taught Daniel Bryan.
Yep, because Shawn was his teacher, his mentor. God damn it.
But we also had the Shield facing.
Oh, that one hurt.
The Shield defeated Kane and the returning New Age Outlaws.
The
Yep.
Shade Squad.
Because this was corporate Kane.
Oh God.
This was Suit Kane, not Demon Kane anymore.
So we also had Cesaro win the very first ever Andre the Giant Battle Royal by slamming Big Show over the top rope.
Oh my God, that's still like I'm not gonna lie, I'm starting to get goosebumps thinking about that because he picked Big Show up like he was nothing.
And
two pound for pound guys that are strong as hell in WWE were Antonio Cesaro, or whatever you want to call him now, and John Cena. Oh my God, those two. I don't even know where to go with it, really, to be honest with you, because it was just I can't think of any two guys that are stronger in that company at this point, physically stronger than the two of them.
There was also a storyline. There was also an interview where Hogan said he was backstage when that happened, and it got him goosebumps seeing him launch Big Show in that position. Because Hogan's like, man, that brings me back to when I slammed Andre.
Like he looks like Cesaro looks like he has an easier time picking up Big Show.
Then Hogan did.
Provided it's also been a handful of years since he had been picked up like that, than when Kane did it at a Royal Rumble. But I think that was obviously a way younger Kane. And I think like a 50, 60 pound heavier Big Show.
Right.
But still, I mean, Kane outweighs Cesaro by 60, 70 pounds.
This is also the WrestleMania where we were supposed to have Punk and Triple H, but then Punk decided to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't happen. And then we had the very first ever the Wyatt family debuts around this time. We
got Bray
versus John Cena, which
and this is regular Bray Wyatt, follow the buzzards, not Fiend Bray Wyatt, obviously.
I felt like Cena should have lost this one to Bray. Honestly.
It would have done wonders for Bray's character for Cena to lose.
That's 50-50 booking because apparently everybody has to look at no. This is frustrating.
Then we have also AJ Lee defeats all those girls to win the Divas Championship, and then the next night on Raw, Paige
debuts and takes it,
and then we have.
Before we get to the main event, we got to talk about the secondary main event, which
Brock and Undertaker
was the upset of a legacy.
Yes.
I still
now, even if the story is true, and Taker was hurt and called a finish on a fly, or if it was supposed to go down this way or what. That match was phenomenal, and everybody was in utter shock.
I still remember the black guy that was like,
right.
That became the freaking memes for like the next 6 months, and you can still find them.
I was in shock too, but being in the ring before, I knew something wasn't right by the way Taker was moving.
Oh, yeah. As you watch that match go on, you can see that Taker's not all there. And
Taker don't even remember the match.
Nope, he doesn't. That is the only time since they took Taker to an emergency room after that. It's the only time Vince has ever left WrestleMania. And he left because he wanted to go make sure that his boy was good.
And Brock went too.
Yep.
Now, Undertaker. Now, this is what Paul Heyman said on Inside the Ropes. If you guys ever on YouTube, Paul Heyman said, "Whoa, what if Undertaker was supposed to win, but Brock said, fuck it. What are they going to do?"
Pretty much, because at that point, once everything happens, what do you do? This isn't a taped Monday Night Raw where you can edit footage out. This is WrestleMania. It's live. Anything that happens goes down in history.
I was looking forward to it, but I kind of got that stinky suspicion that something wasn't right.
Yeah. It would have been nice though for Taker to come out on top, or even if it would have been like a draw. Just because that is the one thing that I've always thought they should have left alone was Taker's streak. Unless you were gonna do like the big push like with when Roman beats him too.
Right.
Or if he's gonna actually retire, what happens I think on the next either WrestleMania 31 or 32 when he faces Bray.
WrestleMania 31, yep.
If they wanted to build Bray's character to be that next phenom that does all the supernatural style stuff, they should have had him be the one to beat Taker. Because what did it really do for Brock?
Nothing.
It didn't really do anything that Brock didn't do already. Brock was already a hyped up over character. And I don't know why Vince and them didn't see that and didn't understand that.
And Brock was also doing the German suplexes a little weird to Taker. Like he wasn't like the way he was picking him up, like Undertaker back of his head kept hitting the.
Yeah. That's the only thing that bothers me with how Brock does German suplexes now. Is it's like a really like if you watch how he does German suplexes versus how Chris Benoit used to do a German suplex, it's a real lazy. Like he's got him look like Benoit would get it when they'd fold. Brock just looks like he's just kind of going, and doing like a back suplex or a backdrop suplex.
Right.
It doesn't look like he's trying to do a German suplex.
So we got the main event: Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Batista. There's a cool spot in this match where they do that reverse Batista bomb and RKO.
On the table.
On the table, yeah.
Yep.
And this starts
because they kept trying to stack the odds against Daniel Bryan.
And this starts the evolution coming back. But I also feel bad too because right after this, did Daniel Bryan get the neck injury?
Yes.
He did. He had to pretty much give the belt up the next day again.
It was just
so
really horrible.
The poor guy could not catch a freaking break.
So now we go into WrestleMania 31, and a lot of interesting things about this one. I will first say this: Undertaker and Sting should have been WrestleMania 31.
That would have been nice instead of freaking Triple H.
And they made it look like this was a WWE, WCW war, but I love what Sting said on the promo to that. He's like, I'm not here to fight for WCW. That'd be ridiculous at this point. And they kept calling Sting the Vigilante, which I'm like, he's not Batman. I mean, he had a bat, but he's not Batman. I mean, I want to talk about that match first. The nostalgic thing, when I saw DX come out and I saw NWO come out, I cheered like a kid when I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun time.
I personally, for the finish of that match, what I would have done is if you were going to have the NWO and DX get involved, you don't save Shawn for the last, like the guy that comes out and causes the super kick. Because Shawn never had any ties to the NWO, WCW side of it. What you do is you have DX come out minus X-Pac. You have X-Pac come out with the NWO. And then for that finish, you have X-Pac hit Sting with the X Factor, tear the NWO shirt off, and he's wearing the DX one underneath. Because that gives you that nice swerve that's like, oh shit, he was 6, and then he became X-Pac.
I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that bump that Hogan took, though, when he hit the post. Like, he actually landed pretty hard, and then Nash acted like he broke his quad again. I mean,
he probably did. He probably took the bat out and handed it to Sting and tore his quad in the process.
Probably goes to the bathroom, take a shit. I tore my quad, baby.
Or wait, no. No, Scott handed Sting the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott handed Sting the bat, and Nash tore his bicep watching Scott hand him the bat.
There's another great match. There's another great match in this, guys. The Intercontinental Ladder match: Daniel Bryan, Bad News Barrett, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, R-Truth, and Stardust, which was Cody Rhodes. But
yep. Oh my god! And Ambrose takes a hell of a bump in that, and ends up giving himself, I think, a concussion.
Daniel Bryan wins the Intercontinental title, and he also has another injury. He has to retire.
Yep.
After he wins his Intercontinental title, like he didn't get a break at all.
No, he couldn't. Before we go on any further, though, I do want to talk because this has one of my favorite characters of all time, and it was on the pre-show. Big Show winning the Andre the Giant Memorial by eliminating Damien Mizdow.
Yes.
We had Damien Sandow that turns around and starts acting like the stunt double for the Miz, and then emulating the Miz to a T, calling himself Mizdow. And if anybody who's watching this that has never seen anything Mizdow, either YouTube it. If you have Peacock, go look it up from around this time frame, and just watch some of the Raw matches and some of the SmackDown matches or anything leading up to that. Damien Sandow is another one of WWE's wasted talents.
I remember,
And as Mizdow, it is perfectly personified as that. Miz takes a bump. Sandow's taking a bump on the outside, mirroring it. Miz goes up to the top rope and gets crotched by the Usos. For anybody who's not a straight, full-on wrestling fan, being crotched in wrestling speak is where you're on the top rope, somebody hits the ropes, and you fall, and you basically hit your nuts on the top rope. And then you hold your balls like you're in a shitload of pain. Sandow, Mizdow, whatever, gets up on the other turnbuckle and does it to himself. He literally stunt doubles it, and he mirrors it. And and you have the Usos. I swear to God, they broke character. They broke kayfabe and started dying laughing. Because how do you not? But it got so over that the only thing that could have made that angle and character better is if when they fought Miz and Mizdow, the Miz legitimately loses, so he cannot be called the Miz. That's the only thing that would have made that angle perfect in the long run.
I remember an incident where the Miz, and I think they were doing a tribute to the troops the year before that. The Miz and Mizdow interrupts Hogan, and then while Miz is talking, he's over there doing the same thing, and Hogan's over there looking at him like that. Then Cena comes out, and then Cena hits the Miz, throws the Miz out, and then Damien Sandow, Mizdow looks, and he goes.
He just kind of looks around a little bit, and then goes, "Whoo!"
And then John Cena's like, "Go ahead, man, go get him."
Mm-hmm.
Mizdow,
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was comedic, but it was perfect. Because then they had the run as the tag team champs. Miz had both titles on his shoulders, and Sandow, Mizdow, whatever, had the plastic titles that you could buy at Target for like $25 on his shoulders.
You can't do better.
They had the same outfit. They did the whole little spin and point, and they'd point at each other, and they worked so well. I think they worked better together as Miz and Mizdow than anything that John Morrison and Miz ever did, whether it's the second iteration of it with the Drip King or whatever, or the first iteration of it back in when they were on WCW or WWE's bastardized version of ECW.
We also had one of the best RKOs ever in WrestleMania 31 with Seth Rollins and Randy Orton.
Oh yes. Whew.
And that feud was good too because Randy Orton was a part of the Authority.
Mm-hmm. And there was dissension forming in the Authority for that.
We already know that he already had the Money in the Bank briefcase, which later on we all know that Seth Rollins cashes it in.
Ice of the century.
Steals it from Roman Reigns. I mean, But we also had AJ Lee's last match. Her and Paige teamed up to face the Bellas.
And they won by submission. They made the Bellas tap.
And then John Cena with that golden shovel beats Rusev.
The undefeated. The up till this point undefeated Rusev.
Yep.
The undefeated Rusev, who also admits that he and Lana had sex in the same tank that they came out in. Which can't blame them.
You know, if I had somebody that was willing to say, let's go to Pound Town in the middle of a tank here, or in this tank, by all means, as long as I know that nobody's going to be coming in through the top of that tank, I'm saying let's fucking do it, honey.
What would have made it even more cool of a sex tape? It was a sex tape and Boogeyman showed up.
I'm coming to get you.
But yeah, I mean, Rusev should have won this. I mean, now Cena did lose one match to Rusev where he got knocked out with the Campbell clutch. So I'll give him that.
But unfortunately, because I think the next pay-per-view after Mania, I think, was in Chicago, and that was it's Extreme Rules, which was in Chicago that year, and it was the chain match, so basically just a strap match but a chain.
Yeah.
And Cena wins that match too, which was a return match, and I think that was kind of a piss poor idea.
Let's
then we
go
have
to
the
top.
return. Then we have the return
time.
of the Undertaker.
Yep. Defeating Bray Wyatt, which at this point now there's no real luster about the Undertaker showing up for WrestleMania, so because the undefeated streak is no more. So what? Now it's just he's coming in for the hot commodity payoff for people.
Yeah.
I saw an interview recently that Taker's had before talking about his Hall of Fame speech. He actually said that he pitched for Bray to beat him.
It would have worked better. It really would have fucking worked better for Bray to win. And it.
Oh, don't worry. It gets worse as time goes on. We all know. Be a heist of the century. Roman Reigns versus Brock. These two guys literally beat the shit out of each other. We got the evolution of Suplex City, bitch. Suplex City. Sorry.
You're fine.
I still say the Suplex.
I love the twist ending for that match, though. I couldn't stand heel Seth Rollins because of the authority. But in this case, that makes perfect sense. And they definitely could have let up. They could have kept a feud going because Brock wasn't the one that got pinned.
It's true.
Brock had legitimate beef for being pissed off that he lost his belt without being the one to lose his belt.
Well, also Roman's family was
I'm not really happy with WrestleMania 32's card. The one match that I did like on there, I mean, I did like the Usos facing the Dudleys. I thought that was a cool tag match. But we had Zack Ryder winning the Intercontinental title, but then loses it the next night to Miz.
Which was heartbreaking because Zack Ryder was one of those guys that had been around for ages who got over because the fans made him over. He got over. He didn't get over because Vince pushed him. He got over because they wanted him to, because the fans wanted him and loved him. And Vince hated it with a passion.
Kevin Owens did this really sick spot where his neck was stuck inside the ladder.
Oh, God, yeah.
I remember that one. And we also have the debut of AJ Styles against Chris Jericho.
Yep. And it comes out on the losing side of it, but we got our official earlier that year, our official debut of AJ Styles into the WWE at Royal Rumble, along with getting the Dudley Boys to come back, having the re-debut of the Dudleys.
We also have Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose now. I was expecting more from this, but I heard Brock did not want to do some of the shit that Dean wanted to do. Or John Moxley, to some of you now that don't know who Dean Ambrose is. Moxley,
Ambrose, whatever you want to call them. He was willing to go extreme because if you watch some of his older stuff like Combat Zone Wrestling, The Lunatic Fringe was kind of a good fucking moniker for him. He was a lunatic. He was crazy.
I like when Mick Foley came and actually on Raw and gave him that. I think it was Terry Funk that gave him the, or it was either Foley or Funk that gave him the burning, like bat with the barbed wire and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like, look, use this. The sickest part of that match though is when they had a stack of chairs, and he got German suplex on those chairs. That was. Oof. I would tell Dean Ambrose this. You're lucky you didn't get suplexed by Kurt Angle or Benoit on those chairs.
Oh yeah, because you would have come down on your neck more and the tops of your shoulders than you would have on basically your back. I think we get the WrestleMania debut of the New Day at this point too.
We also get the women's title that comes back instead of the Divas title. Sasha comes out dressed like Eddie Guerrero. And it's Becky and Charlotte and Sasha, which is a good triple threat match. Yes. Ric Flair gets involved
because it's a Flair match. There's always got to be an outside interference with a Flair match.
Then we have Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. When Shane came back that year when Raw, that was a big pop. Everybody was missing Shane McMahon. Mm-hmm. But from what I was read, it was not supposed to be Shane and Undertaker. They were hoping that it was going to be Sting and Taker at WrestleMania 32, but then when they told Sting, well, at your Hall of Fame speech, we're not going to let you wrestle with your neck injury. And look what he's doing in AEW.
And look what he's doing in AEW.
I mean, you guys really screwed that up. You guys,
at the same time, though, we can kind of thank Seth Rollins for that because we all knew that him doing that buckle bomb was not safe. He hurt Sting. He hurt Finn Balor. And that's why I don't think they let him do it anymore. As far as I know, he doesn't do it anymore.
Nope. We also had Baron Corbin win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Which, I got to say, I think Corbin's underrated. I really do, especially as Happy Corbin and King Corbin and Sad Corbin, all this other shit. I don't think people are really giving him a fair shake. I mean, he's a good fucking worker. And his finisher, the End of Days, is one of those ones that's also protected. Nobody's ever kicked out of it. Just like the Razor's Edge. There's only like 4 or 5 guys whose finishers has never been kicked out of, and those are 2 of them.
Yeah. And that WrestleMania 32, we also had The Rock shows up and has that little showdown with the Wyatt family, which him and Bray had that good little back and forth.
This is the fastest match in WrestleMania history, but it wasn't a title match, and it was only 6 seconds.
And then John Cena.
And unfortunately, I don't think they could have done anything worse to Eric Rowan for that because they didn't really have anything going for him to begin with. And all this did was just shit on a guy who was willing to do his time for a company for the sake of a WrestleMania payoff.
Do we even want to talk about the Triple H Roman Reigns title match?
I like the build up.
Okay.
I don't like that they were shoving Roman down our throats. I don't think anybody likes that they were shoving Roman down our throats at this point. But the way that they were building that match to happen was a good story. He was in the Royal Rumble, and he got eliminated by Triple H, and he lost his belt. And he had to go from number 1 to like number 30. And he almost did it. Because it came down to him and it came down to him and Triple H.
And Stephanie took a sick bump through the table.
Yep.
During that match. But we go into WrestleMania 33 now. This one is where WWE lost Chris Jericho. Because that whole KO and Jericho thing with the list, that was one of the best things going on Raw during that time.
I missed the list of Jericho.
And they should have.
That's about the only thing from that time frame that I remember is the list of Jericho.
And they should have had them let them have their Universal title match. But instead, they had KO lose to Goldberg, and Goldberg face Brock
Lesnar,
Lesnar, which was a 5-minute 55-second match. We all knew Brock was going to win. I knew Brock was going to win that one.
Yeah.
But for the Cruiserweight Championship, we had Neville, a.k.a. Pac, versus Austin Aries.
Pac, by the way. Pac.
We have him against Austin Aries.
It was a good opener.
Which Austin Aries didn't get used properly in WWE either.
No.
We had Dean Ambrose facing Baron Corbin for the Intercontinental title.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Styles beat it Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
We had Bayley defeated Charlotte, Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks for the Fatal 4-Way Women's title. The return of the Hardy Boys.
Oh,
They defeated Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Cesaro and Sheamus, and Enzo and Big Cass.
That was just a great moment. See the Hardy Boys back. And we think it's going to be the New Day. Yeah. But then their music hits and you hear delete, delete, delete.
Delete, delete. He needs to bring that back. I'm sorry. I think it's
I'll be right back, boys.
I love that.
But we also had Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice.
Oh, this was the wrong outcome. Miz and Maurice should have won that hands down. But Nikki was retiring, so therefore she had to have a good victory. Why? Just why?
Then we had Seth Rollins faces Triple H in a non-sanctioned match. I love the story of this because of how Seth was selling that injury, then he went on NXT and attacked Triple H.
Oh, that was great.
He got away from that authority thing, and the feud between him and Triple H was great. So,
oh no! Let me say again: when it comes to Bray Wyatt, it only got worse.
Yes.
Oh my god, that PowerPoint deal! What the absolute fuck!
So then Randy Orton decides to join the Wyatt family, and then they have that. He burns the Wyatt family
compound, yeah.
And what the hell was that thing that Randy Orton hated? That little snake that came out towards the entrance. He said it looked like a dick.
It's a little sperm, yeah.
Yeah. But that match was another screwing Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
And I don't even know if I want to talk about Roman Reigns beating Undertaker. I mean, I understood it. Undertaker was not really at the best health that he needed to be at.
Yeah.
And I thought that was it for Taker. When he got done and they were clapping for him, he took his gloves off and put the hat right there. I was like, this is it.
Yeah, we all thought he was hanging up the boots.
Yeah.
We were also talking while you were gone, PK, about the Seth Rollins Triple H match and how it was really done well with Seth Rollins having that knee injury and attacking Triple H in NXT and
it became the mentor versus the mentoring, I guess.
Yeah.
So we have WrestleMania 34.
This is where WrestleMania became too long. This is where it reached that point where it was like, this is just too pissing long. Too many matches. Just.
I'll just go through. This is when Charlotte beats Asuka, an undefeated Asuka.
Yep.
For the submission, which I
didn't agree with that.
I still don't.
I think it would have worked. I think that one would have worked better if you put Asuka over. Either you put Asuka over or you have Charlotte win by pinfall. You don't have her make Asuka tap out when you have this person coming in with that much of a push, I guess, by being undefeated up until that point. It's almost as dumb as the WCW friggin' taser to Goldberg.
Yeah.
This is also the WrestleMania where we get Rusev Day.
Oh,
yeah.
the debut of Rusev Day.
Jinder Mahal beats Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, and Rusev, and
My
the
boy Bobby
fatal
got
four-way for
screwed.
the United States title. But what was also great, though, was the Intercontinental title between Miz, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor.
Oh yes, that was a great starter.
That was a good little starter. And I'm a big fan of Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor deserves a little bit better than when he wins the U.S. title and he gets put on the main event. Instead of being on a WrestleMania card, something's wrong with that.
You know, it's really funny because we're actually going to get back-to-back Seth Rollins starting off WrestleManias. So,
yeah. We got WrestleMania, that one. Then we have Undertaker comes back.
And we also had the McMahon Helmsley versus Angle and Rousey. We had Ronda debuting.
Yeah.
Now the whole thing that I don't understand is they build this up for a while, looking like it's going to be The Rock.
It was WrestleMania 31. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They started out with basically The Rock shooting a huge ass promo and then fighting, and then Stephanie and Rousey kind of getting into it. But then when it comes time to actually get the match in the ring, no Rock. We got freaking Kurt Angle.
And then we also teased it too. Then we also teased it on one of the SmackDowns. I think it was a SmackDown celebration. The Rock's backstage with Triple H, and he says, "How about we do it one more WrestleMania with a big old stadium full of people?" And I'm like, "Come on now."
There's the setup, but no.
But Kurt Angle, Ronda Rousey won this one. It was good to see Kurt back.
I think, what was it? Rousey puts on her weird ass idea of an armbar, and you got, what is it, Corey Graves or something like that? Like, oh my God, look what she's doing to Stephanie's arm. Stephanie's arm is just up in the air like this. Like that, yeah, that's the most devastating looking armbar I've ever seen in my fucking life, Corey. Yeah. Shut up.
WrestleMania 34 is also the return of Daniel Bryan when he was a SmackDown GM.
Yep.
Him and Shane McMahon faced the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which if somebody doesn't like Sami Zayn, something's wrong with you. I mean, the guy
I love Sami.
Sami is great.
I love Sami. I don't like what he looks like now. He looks like he's a poor man's white Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
I love watching Sami work. I really wish they would let him do the El Generico shit once in a while. Put the freaking mask on and let him wrestle as El Generico. Put him in a Royal Rumble as that. Put it as a surprise entrance.
I would have loved to see that too.
That'd be great.
Like, oh my God, Sami Zayn is hurt, but oh my God, here comes El Generico.
Hey, you know what'd be really cool?
Well, this isn't Sami Zayn. This is El Generico.
If they're gonna have Johnny Knoxville beat him this weekend, this is how I would book it. I would have Knoxville steal that mask and come out in that same fucking outfit. And I was Sami Zayn be like, "What?"
Just gets pissed off about it.
But we also do we care that Nia Jax beat Alexa Bliss for the title? I know they were friends, and then all of a sudden they called her fat, and they did the whole fat shame.
I've been bullied and blah blah blah. You're a brick house. Stop.
So then we have Undertaker come back and beat John Cena in 2 minutes 45 seconds.
That's funny.
I actually like what Cena was doing.
This is when Cena was sitting ringside. Cena wasn't even originally supposed to be, I guess, on the card.
Right.
Supposedly.
And
because he was calling out, he was like, "I want you, Taker. I want you at WrestleMania." Taker's like, "I'm not even going to show up." And then somebody comes and tells him, like, out in the middle of the show, "Oh, he's here." And he runs and gets up from ringside, jumps the barricade, and hauls ass backstage.
And that's when he ended up. And that's when he had to attack Elias too. That time, because Elias came out too. Which that's another guy who I feel like should have been pushed a little more, but
who is now no longer with the company. He's gone.
Oh, I did not know that.
He left. I think his contract was up and he didn't resign.
Oh.
They wanted him. He was willing to change his entire look. He shaved his head. He shaved that beard. Had a whole new gimmick look they were getting ready to do, and then they were just like, nah.
We're also talking about this too. Remember how we were talking about the Royal Rumble winners losing the match? Well, Shinsuke Nakamura won the Royal Rumble that year and lost to AJ Styles.
That was a disappointing match.
It was, because when you had that because that was when it was on SmackDown. You had WWE Championship on SmackDown, not Raw.
Yeah.
Not the Universal title was on Raw. I think that would have been a perfect time to put the belt on Shinsuke.
Yes, I agree.
Especially coming out of a match with somebody that he's worked before in Japan. He worked with AJ Styles multiple times in Japan at New Japan Wrestling.
And their matches at New Japan was better than this one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely better. Then we have Braun Strowman and Nicholas.
We'll skip the bar. Who, a lot of people don't know this, but all it is one of the producer's kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all Nicholas is just one of the producer's boys.
Because he had a ha-ha moment.
So Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns 2. Brock beats him. The crowd's basically shitting on it.
The crowd is happy Brock wins.
They're happy Brock win, but they're shitting on the match, and Brock takes off his gloves and just beats Roman.
Beats Roman within an inch of his life.
He did it to Randy Orton, too, at that SummerSlam.
Yeah.
2016.
But that he was supposed to. That Orton and them planned out. That was so that the fans obviously didn't know it. The boys backstage didn't even know it because of that SummerSlam. Because Jericho wanted to go and legitimately get into it with Brock. He was ready to go and he was ready to try to throw hands with Brock Lesnar. Because he thought Brock went into business for him.
And this was that was the year that Brock comes out in the back and throws the belt at Vince McMahon.
Yep.
I remember that.
So we got WrestleMania 35.
I was there live for it.
Sitting there looking at all these matches on here. Seth Rollins comes out, number 1, defeats Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Like 2 low blows and then 3 curb stomps or something like that.
Mm-hmm. The Beast Slayer. They called him that time.
That was funny.
Shane McMahon defeated The Miz. I like how they...
Oh.
That was just painful. We have the Iconics, who I thought would have been really good. I would have loved to see the Iconics Bellas match. They never did it.
Would have been nice.
But Iconics are killing it in Impact Wrestling right now.
I will say that was probably the shock of the night where the Iconics won those belts. And I was all for it too.
Wasn't that the one where Sasha took her little ball and went home for a little bit because she was so upset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had AJ Styles versus Randy Orton, which was not a bad match.
No, it wasn't.
Then we had Kofi
We had
Kingston.
Kofi Mania start.
Hell
Beats
yeah.
Daniel Bryan for the Eco.
Beating Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. And then lo and behold, he'd go on to hold it for a while and then get beat by Brock in 20 seconds on a freaking SmackDown.
What I don't understand is they have Samoa Joe beat Rey Mysterio in 58 seconds with the submission.
The Coquina Clutch.
They kind of just threw that match in there for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
They had Triple H and Batista go 24 minutes and 45 seconds.
Give me what I want.
Yep. And this was part of that promo leading up to where Batista says, this man has done it all in this industry, except beat me.
Yep.
And fans were pissed that Baron Corbin beat Kurt Angle in Kurt Angle's last match because people wanted that to be Cena. Because that was the...
And I think Corbin was handpicked by Kurt for that, though, too. Mm-hmm. If I remember right.
We had a Demon Finn Balor facing Bobby Lashley for the Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm. With Leo. With little Leo Rush, who seems to come in and out of retirement every fucking 3 weeks now.
Certainly feels that way.
Then we had the main event, Becky versus Ronda versus Charlotte, where Becky becomes the 2 belt.
Becky 2 belts.
But if you look back at that pin, I don't think that's how that match was supposed to end.
I don't think so either.
Then Ronda takes her little ball and goes home because the fans are making fun of her and booing her. So she's like, well, I'm going to go home and make a baby now. So,
yep, pretty much.
Sounds about right.
So WrestleMania 36 was very unorthodox because it was at the Performance Center.
Oh my gosh, yes. I want to talk about this so much.
So you take the ball and go with it. I did not watch 36 or 37. So 37 I have no idea what the hell's going on.
So what do we got here?
It looks like we got on the card, on the pre-show, we got Cesaro and Drew Gulak.
Mm-hmm. He beat him with the UFO, that torture rack deal where he spins him around and then does the no-handed deal.
Cesaro did that to Drew?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen that one. So
it's awesome. If you get a chance, look up Cesaro UFO move.
I'll have to do that.
It's incredible.
And then we got, for the women's tag team, we got Alexa and Nikki Cross, before she was Nikki Ash, versus the Kabuki Warriors, which was Asuka and Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane is a fucking amazing one. I love Kairi.
Kairi's actually back in New Japan now.
Oh, yay.
It's a good place for her. She'll fit better there, I think, than WWE still.
Speaking of Elias, he's here.
There's Elias defeating King Corbin.
Hey, he's undefeated at WrestleMania, I think. 1-0.
The Becky and Shayna match was built really good, but the match fell flat.
Yes.
They made Shayna look like she wasn't in NXT, choking people out. They had that little Ronda Rousey story with it, like, you beat my friend, so.
Didn't she start off with, like, that fake, like, just gnawing that big chunk out of Becky's back?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember when I first saw her, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, who the fuck is this? All right, whatever, okay.
So Becky wanted Shayna to win that match. She wanted Shayna to choke her out, but Vince had other ideas. At that time, Becky didn't know she was pregnant either.
Yeah.
So they that's when she gave up the belt to Asuka. Then we had Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, which was not a bad match.
Decent, yeah.
John Morrison defeated Jimmy Uso and Kofi Kingston in a triple threat tag team title match with just 3 people.
It was because they had those limitations during the pandemic, so that was all that they could do, which sucks, but it was still a decent matchup. I still enjoyed it.
We were supposed to see Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns had the leukemia thing, so he'd sit out.
I love how there's people that think that was all a work, too. Like, that Roman's faking the leukemia. Which, whether he is or isn't, I don't really give a shit either way. But, I mean, I take it back. If he is full of shit on it, man, to try to get some fan sympathy, that's horse shit.
Yeah.
But if he's legitimately going through it, the fact that he's gone through it and because people are like, oh, well, he doesn't look like somebody who's battling cancer. Why? Because he has all of his fucking hair. I mean, there's other treatments than just radiation therapy, which makes you lose all your fucking hair. My buddy's dad was going through chemo, and he still had all his fucking hair. So. But leukemia is a little bit different than your normal cancers because it's blood cancer, essentially. So you probably have to attack that one a little bit differently than you can, like, say, like a liver tumor or a brain tumor or even skin cancer, skin tumors.
But anyways, he drops out of the WrestleMania. We have Braun Strowman steps in at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Braun beats Goldberg for the Universal title.
Another to-do deal.
Then that main event of night 1 was AJ Styles, Undertaker in the Boneyard. Beautifully done.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good way for Taker to go out in the sunset.
There's just so much good stuff that happened during that deal where we just see Undertaker literally look like a brawler. He's not just doing, like, high spots or stuff like that. He literally looks like he's a guy that's just really going to just knock every single teeth out of your mouth. And I mean, that final deal with AJ Styles where he got buried in there and his hand is just out like this. I would have laughed if they would have had Undertaker leave. It goes back to the hand, and he just does this. That would have been a great way to end it.
So night 2, we have Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley.
That's right. This is where he was married to Lana. Because everybody loves that story.
Charlotte Flair beats Rhea Ripley for the for the NXT Women's Championship. And one of the best matches on there was the Edge versus Randy Orton. That told a story.
Not yet.
And they didn't really have much to work with. They told a story. And they had that little greatest match ever Backlash or something right afterwards.
Yeah.
And Edge ended up tearing his bicep. So that was a good little match there between them.
I think that there were some parts where that match kind of dragged, but there were spots where it definitely was good. I will agree with you there. I think it just could have been cut, maybe a little bit of the fat off of that match. It would have been probably a match of the night.
I actually I don't know why, but they did a Fire Funhouse match between The Fiend and John Cena. When Cena come out with the NWO, and they did the whole Macho Man Hogan thing at Saturday Night's Main Event, and
Major
that was
Chef's
really
kiss.
done.
That was beautiful. And what's funny is that there was actually somebody who made a prediction on how the Firefly Funhouse thing went.
Oh shit! Well, hey, it's still you and I, so we're still going here. Go ahead, keep going.
We were just talking about the Firefly Funhouse match that had Wyatt and Cena, and just all the references that they made. Like, I love the Bray Wyatt deal where he's like, "You can look, but you can't touch." Just like, wow, that is a deep dig on Bray Wyatt. Welcome back, Kev.
Now, the one thing about the Brock Lesnar Drew match, I love the fact that Royal Rumble with that year because it had the fans, but I really wish that he would have had a chance to win that in front of fans.
Yeah.
But we do get fans at WrestleMania 37, which I know PK didn't watch WrestleMania 37.
I didn't either, but I know.
Honestly, I didn't even watch night 2 of WrestleMania 36. The only reason I watched any part of WrestleMania 36 is I wanted to see the Boneyard match.
We did have Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. Glad they finally gave Bobby Lashley a chance at the belt. But we're not really going to talk about 37 because I know some of you guys probably don't really care. But I know Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks had a really good women's title match.
Oh my gosh, the hair whip where she got Sasha so good, it had that mark on her side. That was
and you could hear it because I heard highlights of it and you could hear the hair whip.
Then we had a 5-minute match between Randy Orton and The Fiend with Alexa Bliss turning on The Fiend, and then basically Bray Wyatt goes bye-bye.
Yep.
Last time we ever see Bray Wyatt, it seemed in a WWE ring.
Then we had Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, which they usually always have good matches together. Roman Reigns beats Edge and Daniel Bryan. I actually liked that one. And what I liked about it was the fact that he pins them both at the end. Stacks them both.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you look at some highlights of that, by all intents and purposes, Edge should have been champion.
Yes.
If the referee would have started counting before Roman did all that and got into position, Edge would have had a 3 count because Edge had him covered at least for 2 seconds.
That's true.
Because and I've seen people arguing about this on TikTok, like, no, you can't be on your back and have your shoulders down. There's been times where Shawn's done the super kick and splayed backwards over it. He's had his shoulders down, and they still count 1, 2, 3. So,
let me ask you guys this: this is the last time we see Daniel Bryan in a WWE ring.
Yes.
Yep, this is the end of his contract.
Yeah, I don't see him coming any time soon back.
But now, we're not going to really talk about
AEW is giving him freedom to do his thing. We will never see Bryan Danielson as Daniel Bryan again, probably.
We're not going to talk about WrestleMania 38 because it's not happening yet. So, If we want to do
Yeah, because that happened. That's this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But we did make it all the way to 38.
Yay! Woo! Holy
But
cow.
It took us 2 weeks.
yeah, just 2 weeks. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you guys this. If you guys are bookers, what would be your 5 dream matches? I'm gonna go with you.
Well, do we want to do this how me and Jay had talked about it? Superstar had talked about it, and go any people, any era, or do we want to go with matches that have already happened?
Any people, any era. Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I know one we talked about last week is Gorgeous George and Gold Dust. I think that would be an interesting one. I went a step further with it and said, let's make it a triple threat and add adorable Adrian Adonis. Just because you have 3 characters that are kind of way the hell out there about their looks. As it goes for fantasy booking, I'd probably want to see Owen versus... I don't know who I'd want to see Owen go against. I wouldn't mind seeing Owen and AJ. Owen and AJ Styles would have been an interesting concept. Cesaro and Luthez.
Ooh, that's a good one.
In a no-holds-barred style.
That's a good one.
Just a grudge match. Knockout. I'd love to see Stone Cold come back and just wrestle against anybody, but I don't want it to be at the sake of his health.
Right.
So that's just going to have to literally be a fantasy. Another good one that I think would be is Macho and AJ, or even Macho and CM Punk.
Ooh, that'd be good.
And then just for a complete gimmick bullshit thing, give me Doink the Clown. Matt Bourne Doink the Clown. So the guy who made that gimmick.
Right.
Not any of the other shit that came after with Steve Kern or any of the others. No offense to those guys. But and since we don't really have anything like that now, I'd like to see Doink just throw him up against anybody. Not anybody. Throw him up against... Oh, Christ. Just because I need to laugh. And we're already getting 2/3 of this weekend, but we got Austin Theory and Pat McAfee. The only thing that can make it any better to me is throwing Doink the Clown in there. Because after watching the video that I did of Pat, and I think Pat McAfee is going to be, he may not be a great wrestler, but he is a great personality for WWE to have. What he did on SmackDown to Austin Theory with the whole little like goofy DX crotch chop thing, telling him he ain't shit, had me dying laughing. I don't know if either one of you saw it, but he was just taunting the hell. I take it back. Doink and Danhausen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Danhausen, yeah.
I forgot all about Danhausen because he's not WWE. And because for the most part, I've never seen him wrestle. I hear he's actually really good in the ring.
He is.
But AEW's never put him in the ring for wrestling. They're content to do the whole little curse everybody. And then whoever the last one, what was it, Hook, the last person who tried to do that curse to, he just kind of was like, fuck out of here. I don't have time for this shit. But what about you, Nate? What's your fantasy book? Mine's more of the comedic side.
Well, yeah. If I had to choose, I definitely would love to see Shawn and Rock at WrestleMania. That would be really good.
That's one that we never did get to see either.
Both in their prime, Bray versus Taker, when they're both like on their like A games, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
A sidestep one that I really would have loved to see would have been Hogan and Taker at Mania because I think that would have been better than, Sid and Hogan, just saying. But
Sid and Hogan or Sid and Taker.
oh jeez.
Or any of the matches that we actually got with Hogan and Taker.
Uh-oh. Nate's disappeared.
Yep. I wonder if his computer died. Or phone died. Well, he wasn't on it. He was using his phone for other shit, so. Well, okay, while we wait, blah, 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 blah. While we wait for him to come back, what about you, Kev?
Well, my first match, this is a good one. I want Andre at his prime versus Undertaker during his streak.
Ooh. During
the old school Undertaker. I would love to see that. I know that Taker said Andre really wanted to have a match with him. Never happened.
Never had really a big chance to make it happen, did it?
Never had a chance. Yeah. An Iron Man, a 30-minute or 60-minute Iron Man match. Kurt Angle versus Bret Hart submission.
Now, do we want to have it like an ultimate submission like he did with Benoit?
Yes.
For the Iron Man style? Yeah, that would be interesting.
I would love to see Owen Hart versus Chris Benoit. That would have been something I would love to see happen. They were going for it for WrestleMania 22, but unfortunately Eddie died. I would love to see Eddie and Shawn. That was
Eddie and Shawn would have been a good one too.
I would love to see that. I wanted to see a dream tag match. DX, Shawn, and Triple H versus the Outsiders, Nash and Hall.
You get the click going against each other make it for a title belt match too. Make it for the tag team titles.
I would have loved to see Macho Man Randy Savage. Crazy Macho Man Savage. I would love to see Savage versus John Moxley.
That'd be an interesting one to watch.
Who's more crazier? That's what I would love to see that. I would love to see Bray Wyatt face Sting. A lot of people, I would love to see Bray Wyatt versus Sting.
Yeah. Bray Sting would be a good one too.
I would love to see Stone Cold and basically anybody. Stone Cold against Goldberg would have been good. Maybe because Austin would have carried that one. I would have loved to see The Rock. I want to see Rock and Roman. I hope that does happen. With this variation of Roman Reigns, I hope it happens.
The Tribal Chief.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. I hope it does.
That'd be awesome if it does, though.
I was hoping for Hogan and Austin. I wanted to see it once. This would be like, let's see it dumping, let's see it. But I would love to see. I know this would never happen at WrestleMania. I would love to see AJ Styles versus Kenny Omega.
That would be interesting. As a matter of fact, yes, that's actually exactly what Nate said happened to him. The computer died.
Well, it's almost 3 minutes. It's almost 3 hours. So he.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh, as far as tag matches go, I would love to see the Steiner brothers. I would have loved to see the Steiner brothers against Hawk and Animal, and maybe add in like the
LOD versus the Steiners. That would have been interesting.
And for this, I mean, I wanted to see Bobby and Brock, but I got disappointed when I saw that. I really wanted to see it, but now I got disappointed on it.
I think if we were going to see a Bobby Brock, it should have been like the Battle of Billionaires, Bobby versus WrestleMania 20 Brock.
Yeah.
So when we had Goldberg, Brock versus, and then Umaga, Lashley, those versions of each other should have come, and I think they'd have had a hell of a match.
I would have loved to seen a 2002 to 2005 Hogan versus Cena, just to just to kind of have that nostalgic of, okay, who's really
Yeah.
who's really the guy,
Like,
or you can make a triple threat and put Austin in it. And
I just asked Nate what his final three were since he died in the middle of his sentence.
yeah,
Eddie and Owen, which that sounds like a really good one. Bret Hart and Taz,
ooh,
which I think that would have been a pretty good technical matchup. I wouldn't mind seeing Prime before he looked like he was roided out, Chris Benoit versus Bret too. Same with Angle and Bret. I think both of those, like yours and that one, you could even try to do a triple threat submissions only and see who's going to get the win with the sharpshooter, the crossface to the ankle lock. And then he said his last one was Stone Cold and Hogan, which we could have had and should have had, and Austin said, "I don't fucking think so."
Austin now regrets that
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, man, I could have made a better business decision. The Rock steals it from me, and I got it.
Yep. Yeah, because I think that's around the time where he took his ball and went home for a little while.
I would have loved to seen The Rock and Shawn Michaels too. I know Nate mentioned that.
Yeah, that would have been, and that's one that we didn't get to ever see because Shawn was hurt during The Rock's rise, and when Shawn started coming back, The Rock was pretty much getting ready to leave to go do Hollywood almost full time.
I think my last big match,
And then when The Rock was kind of still full time, it was because they had the brand split, Raw and SmackDown, and Rock was on SmackDown and Shawn was on Raw.
This might shock a lot of people, but the last big match that I would love to see is I would like to take Cesaro versus Scott Hall.
Ooh. I think that would have a hell of a fun time.
It would have been definitely, and I would love to see Rey Mysterio. No, not Rey, but I would love to see Taz in his prime versus Brock Lesnar or Samoa Joe.
Samoa. You got to take. I'd say the better one for that would be Prime Taz versus Prime Joe.
Yes.
And it's got to be TNA Prime Joe where he's still smaller because it seems like every time you'd see Joe in WWE, he ballooned up. Then he'd get small and then he'd balloon back up. Like his weight could never stay the same. He kept fluctuating like crazy.
I would have loved to seen the 90s Warrior versus the Surfer Sting. That would have been another one too, but that's another for another
Surfer
time.
Sting versus actually you might be able to find that somewhere. Because remember, they used to be in a tag team together.
Yeah, the Blade Runners. Yep.
A lot of people either forget about that or they don't know it. Because Sting's always been one of the ones who's about the business. Warrior was always just about Warrior.
As far as women go, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, who would I love to see? I would love to see Tessa Blanchard versus Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
Because the feud between that, the story behind that, with both dads being in the Horsemen,
Mm-hmm.
you could have brought Tully in, you could have brought Ric Flair involved in this, and it would have been.
Oh, hell yeah. I don't think you could pick anyone better than that.
Mm-mm.
The only other one I would want to see and unfortunately they don't really do any justice for them as it is now. Prime Young Mae Young and Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry, versus the Iconics.
What about a prime Fabulous Moolah with Sherry versus the Iconics?
That'd be interesting. I mean, part of it is I'm also going off trying to go for like giving us some eye candy too. Because I know that May and Sherry used to be really good in the ring.
Yeah.
But then if you look at even a young Moolah, she always looked like she was in her 50s. Even when she was in her late 20s, early 30s, she looked horrible. So, but she could wrestle.
Oh, there's two more I forgot. There's I would love to see Randy Orton and Stone Cold go at it in the ring.
Orton and Austin would have been a good one too. Who do you have go over though? Do you make Orton do the job, or do you tell Austin you're going to do the job?
I'd have to tell Orton, like, hey man, you're the Viper, but he was the rattlesnake first. And I mean, Austin praises Orton now. Like, he would actually say that that's one guy he would get in the ring for.
Yeah,
is Orton. I would love to also see. What was it? I know we saw it a little bit at WrestleMania 20, but I'd like to see Batista versus The Rock.
Batista versus Rock.
Yeah, I would love to see that kind of like, or Randy Orton and Rock had that third generation.
Here's one. Try to wrap your head around this one a little bit here, because it works good with ring psychology. Bray Wyatt, doesn't matter if it's Fiend or regular Bray, because they still have the same ring psychology. Jake. The way those two could tell a story in the ring, I think would be phenomenal.
Yep.
No words necessary. You don't even have to. You can give just the bare bones promos to lead up to it. And I think these two could sell that story like it's a multi-million-dollar or billion-dollar idea.
I don't know. I don't think you can go better than that. I mean, honestly, I didn't think about it, but now that I'm thinking about it, the ring psychology with both of them would have been great. Yeah, absolutely.
Because as it goes for ring psychology, Jake was almost second to none. I can't think of anybody, especially in this day and age, who has ring psychology as good as Jake Roberts did.
Mm-mm. Well, I will say this though, I kind
of want to put Owen against Perfect too.
Yeah,
I think Owen and Perfect would have had a good match.
I know it'd be a good dream match. Superstar Xavier Michaels versus Matt Jones, just them in the arena, just a referee, no one else.
That'd be a good one to watch. I'd pay to see that.
But I would pay for Superstar to win, and then actually have you come out there and basically DDT him at the end or hit him, knock them both out.
I'd knock them both out. I'd put them both in the dirt.
So that's what I would like to see. Now I will say
unfortunately the doctors won't let that shit happen.
So we got part 1 done, part 2 done. We might do it. I don't know if you guys are watching WrestleMania 38 or not. I don't know. If you guys don't,
I don't know if I'll watch day one. I'll probably watch, if I do watch day one, I'll probably watch it Sunday during the day when I have free time. Because I work weekends now, so I know at least on night 2, I'm supposed to check that out. So I mean, maybe next week we do a WrestleMania 38 review. See if anybody wants to get in on that. You can see if Nate the effing Great wants to join. I know Superstar obviously isn't going to watch it, so he won't join. But maybe we can get him to pop in for 10, 15 minutes and give us his dream card.
Yes. We're also going to start doing wrestler bios. I know Jay wants to do that, so I figured me, you, and Jay can start.
I'd be all right with that.
Start tackling certain wrestlers, talk about their bios and where they've been and stuff like that. I think would be a really good thing to have. So, last thoughts about this before we end? Are you satisfied with your picks?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just thinking of that Tessa versus Charlotte match now. I mean, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. And start thinking about that a little bit more. That would be a really interesting fucking watch.
And I would like to see, and I would also like to see Ronda versus Shayna, but Shayna as the heel. But they had to put Shayna like the NXT Shayna, though.
Yeah. You got to let NXT Shayna be Shayna. And you know what? Have her choke her out. Have her choke out Rousey.
Yep.
So
I think Rousey would do that because they're friends. So I think she would.
Yep. I think she'd do it with, and she wouldn't have an issue. She wouldn't get all butt hurt.
But this has been the WrestleMania panel 2. I know we've been on here for 3 hours. I know you guys are. It's a lot of WrestleMania stuff. I'm sorry, guys, but
And unfortunately, as WrestleMania draws on, it starts to become a 10 and 12 hour fucking fiasco.
And had a little bit of technical difficulties during the storm, and then I didn't know my ticker thing had the interview with Remington on there, and it changed that. There was one point where they were in static and I was static, and it's crazy ass weather too, but I got through it. They got through it.
Yep.
But like, share, and sub, guys, and remember, give us y'all's dream WrestleMania matches. What would be some of y'all's favorite matches? Past, present, future, doesn't matter.
Yep. Dream match that you'd love to see, please show us, tell us, whatever it is you guys want to do. We welcome hearing all of it.
And for you football fans, we got a football fan here in PK, big Packer fan, so we're going to start doing some football talk because we're getting close to the draft, and we're going to see what happens.
Wait to see what's going to happen with that.
All right, but I think PK and I think Nate the effing great. I know his internet probably was like, "Oh my god, Kev killed me. I killed Nate's internet. I killed Nate's laptop." Yeah.
But peace out.
Peace out, man.
Been fun. From Valor Studios, I'm out like a boner in a sweatpants.
We're out, guys.